I am Carlos Zema.
And I'm Mary Zema.
And you are watching the Rockin Roundtable with
Matthias and Shay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rockin Roundtable TALKFEST.
Yeah. There we go.
And today we have our beautiful guests, Mary and Carlos Zema.
Yes.
Yay, hello.
Las Vegas celebrities and all over the world, actually.
It's such a great honor to be here, man. Hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you guys. You guys are the best.
Thank you so
we love
much.
hanging out with you guys. So
Yeah. I really appreciate it. And let's get straight into it, right? So both of you are singers, incredible singers. And you have some exciting news. I mean, you are kind of revamping your YouTube channel, right? Voice hacks.
Yeah. I wasn't doing a lot with it for a while, but I started kind of doing new stuff with it this year, putting new things up. I just have a different way of making content. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be back doing that now again.
Yeah.
It's a little hiatus, you want?
Yeah, more than a little. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, and I still feel weird about it too. But I just I'm not very much of a natural YouTuber, so I have a lot of ups and downs in my life, and it's very hard to keep it going. Sometimes it's a lot of work, as you guys know. It's a lot of work actually to create the stuff and to put and I do everything I do myself. So 100%, I don't outsource anything just because I can't stand it. I can't stand when I watch someone else's edit of my video, and it's nothing. They could be perfectly good editor, but I don't even like people editing my photo. I like to do everything myself. You know what I mean? Because it's just too hard to get it the way that it needs to look, or a certain way. And so when you're doing everything yourself, it's just a lot. It's an absolute. It's just so much. It's such a grind, So I just feel like it can't. I'm not personally one of those people that can just grind on social media all the time. I just have not been able to do that. I've had YouTube for 10 years and there's no way. I've never been that type of a creator, which is weird. It's very different than I think a lot of the people out there.
But you have built quite a following. I mean, 120,000 something subscribers, right?
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to where I feel like people don't have to. There's a lot of, I saw a girl the other day, again, you just see a lot of talking heads on social media.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
And people saying things like, well, you should do this, shouldn't do that, because they need to create content, but people have to realize the advice isn't always valid. You can take it or leave it. And I mean, that's just that person's opinion, even though they're saying you should, it's just coming from whatever that person, even if they're an experienced person in social media, it's I don't know, a lot of the shoulds just have not worked for me and I'm still here. So and a lot of them would say, the girl I saw the other day was saying, whatever you do not stop making content. Do not stop. No matter what, feed the algorithm, type of thing. And that's worse for you than anything. And I just am well, I mean, it's just not. Even if that is true, that is not possible for me. I can't do it. It's not sustainable for me. There will be a point at which I'm not going to be able to put that kind of a grind into it. And so I don't know. So I feel like you can do it, in bursts and still make it work, but I am trying to make my bursts more structured now and make them have a little more cohesiveness. I used to be very, very random.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have days where I'm just bam, 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 just promoting, doing shorts, do a bunch of the stuff. And then there'll be a couple days where I'm just, not doing it.
You can't keep it. Yeah, that's not possible. It's not sustainable.
And so many people are burning out doing social media.
Yeah.
Yes. And this year also, just before I started to do stuff again, because I was kind of just in a period of not doing things, a whole bunch of people I know that were much bigger YouTubers than me decided not to do it anymore. So, people like Nick Nocturnal, Finn McKenty, people who I know personally, who don't do it anymore, who decided not to do it around the same time I started to start redoing it.
So Nick, did he stop?
Yeah.
Nick?
I was wondering why there was nothing on him lately.
Yeah. He made a whole
It's been a few
video. He
months.
was like, I have to get my life together and this and that. And he didn't go into too much details, but just from the gist of the video, it sounded like kind of the same thing. Like he was kind of, he's massive, and the way that the way that he's been able to do it is to do. He has nothing fancy, and I've talked about this for a long time with my students and other followers. Is like he doesn't have like a badass setup like this. He forever until he finished. I think he was basically, or until. Maybe he changed when he moved to Florida because he's a Canadian and he moved to Florida, and that was fairly recently. But I think that he was largely doing it in this very plain painted white bedroom in like an apartment in Toronto. There was nothing in it. It looked like a dorm or something, and he just, his way of making it was the grind, being very talented, first of all, and creative. Like it still has to be good. You can grind and put out a bunch of content. If it's garbage, it still falls to the bottom. So he had that, first of all, but he just grind. Like Slipknot would come out of an album and he'd be like, I'm going to cover this whole album in 24 hours. Like, that's how he was able to push so far into, and people like Finn were just marketing geniuses by the time. He's a very, very well established internet. Like I knew him in the music industry well before he was on YouTube. So he definitely was a very established, like super, super ninja marketing guy, SEO, just can ninja the hell out of it. So, but both those guys just grind while they were doing it. Finn had a whole structured plan. You can see from his videos, he's very, like, he was going to start. He had time to do it. Once he made a certain amount of money, he was going to quit, and he did exactly that. And so, yeah. And he was very public about that. But, like, Nick was like, I think Nick's much younger. Finn's closer in age to me, maybe just a little bit older. We're in a completely different way of looking at it too. And Nick's a little younger. I think if I were in my 20s, I could definitely sustain that kind of stress and burnout.
Yeah.
Timing wise, in my lifetime, the way YouTube work didn't exist. It wasn't the thing in my 20s. I mean, it was around, but it wasn't what it is now. So it just didn't work. So it's just like for me personally. I had a lot of family things, a lot of life things, and you can't, I just don't find that to be sustainable, but I do find that you can keep going. I think that's a little bit of a myth to have to keep pushing into it. I don't know.
Like in the beginning of any kind of channel, you're going to have, if you have a relationship, it's going to suffer, or if you usually have a 9-to-5 job in the beginning, because
of course
you're not surviving on YouTube in the beginning. Even the first couple years, you're probably not. You're just,
Yeah, there's no way for you to sustain that kind of grind, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You make such a good point. You can't really pay the bills with it at first. So it's like you have to just... You have to find a way to make it work, and I think it's such a misconception that you have to grind, because then we see all these people who will just quit. I'm trying to think of who else. I feel like there was a slew of people that all left around the same time. Some other YouTubers, but some people are getting burned out. There's another guy, an Italian bass player who's got 12 million followers, and I wish he's massive.
Crap.
He's massive, and I wish now it's of course I can't think of his name now that I'm thinking of him. But I've been watching him recently because some of the people too are just burned out with the financial structures that we're facing, and the constant flux. I mean, the way YouTube monetizes now versus how it used to. This guy was having a problem because random people were sending copyright claims to his channel. Random people. So the crux of the copyright claim system is it's kind of automated, and there's not necessarily a proof from the people claiming always. And so it's
changed a little bit in the last couple months.
Okay.
It's I don't know. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not for the better.
No, but that's good. That might be in response, because his was right within the last few months, and since he's so big, there might have been something that they addressed. But you know, he was gonna quit, and then then after he posted the video, all of a sudden these claims disappeared because they were coming out as like copyright strikes, like the bad ones.
That's not nobody wants.
Yeah. So it wasn't for anything. It was just someone saying that his videos were his. It wasn't like even like a reaction video or other content. So there's just a myriad of things, you know, going on, and anybody can get burnt out. So, you know, for right now, I'm in a phase where I feel like doing stuff. That's all I can say.
Yeah, go with it.
Yeah, go with it.
Ride the wave, ride the wave.
And it goes with any artist, like with Carlos. Like if you were, I mean, when the fun, if it's not fun anymore, your art,
right?
It's
true.
like you have to sit back and think.
Like
what's going to be next?
Exactly. And I was watching an interview with Andreas Kisser the other day, and then I think like in one of his statements, he stated that he is not really worried about like what directly, obviously, what the fan is gonna think when he's composing something.
Yeah,
because that is gonna limit you as an artist and whatnot. And I always and some people, you know, get on it saying, "Oh, so you don't care about the fans," but this is not really what he was referring to. Obviously, right? He's just talking about the artist standpoint and many other artists, right, that you see out there. For example, do you think that if Halford would have been worried about what the fans would think of what they will be releasing, all those albums that Judas Priest released, you know, throughout the whole chronology of Judas Priest would have come out, you know, because it's a phase there in Judas Priest where every album almost sounds like a different band, you know. So like that was the part of that artistic growth, you know, and exploring and going after it, you know, because it's not a whole lot of bands that are like Maiden and AC/DC where first chord comes in, you already know it's them, right?
Right, yeah.
They kind of like,
that's true.
which is another kind of like glorifying like way to like characterize yourself within the scene, right? Which I think it's also glorifying, right? But it's just that it is a different standpoint when you're a kind of artist that it's just not afraid of trying and reinventing and getting out there like that. I think it's really, really cool. Halloween, I think, is another band that kind of did that in their own way, even though they stand on that mid ground where they still establish their characteristics, right? When you listen to it, okay, that's Halloween right there. You know? But even then, like you see on Better Than Raw, on Chameleon, like those are two complete different albums, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And also they changed singers, you know, at the peak of their success.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Even though he is amazing, and now they are both
Now they have both.
All
They got
three.
three.
They
got the three.
Kai
Most bands
Hansen as
can't
well.
find one.
Exactly, because Kai Hansen was, man, I remember,
I think Nightwish should do that. I know that they probably would never do it, but they should totally do a Halloween. If that's the only thing I think they could do to their last thing that they could do the level up is to do the Pumpkins United version of Nightwish.
Right.
Because especially Nightwish fans are difficult. They're
very difficult.
They're never happy with the either we need this one back. This one too bad they suck now, or they're great now, or it's
No, they are. Symphonic metal fans in general just have very, very elite taste, I will say. And I say this as one. I say this as one as well.
Definitely an elite size for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking about Nightwish many times, and you love Annette's era mess.
And Annette just finished her South American tour.
Yes.
She did a small, she hasn't performed in, I don't know, years, 5-6 years. Yeah. So and it was very successful. And now
she announced today.
Now she announced 3 more dates are going to be next year. So she's going to, then.
That's cool,
What did we find about Roy Khan?
Yeah, Roy Khan has signed like a booking agent in the US and in Europe now. So
Yeah, so he's gonna do
and speaking of burnout, he was burnt out from
Yeah.
Camelot, right? That's why he
Yes.
quit Camelot.
about 10 years, a little more 10 years
But I
ago.
think now he's back on track, and it's not going to be his band Conception. It's going to be Roy Khan. So
Wow. Oh, okay. Because
That's
that
cool.
was going to be my next
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
He did some
Yeah.
South American dates over the summer, and he just did strictly Camelot albums.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's what people want.
yeah.
It's a lot of these artists that are really picking up in South America now because I've seen a lot of
the fans, the
yeah.
people are amazing.
Are the
I
best
know.
fans.
Yeah.
They go hard. They go hard
they do.
for sure.
And
But-
if you
but-
don't know the words, they sing it for you. But
They will. They will.
Sure
Yes.
do. They sure do. Yeah.
Speaking of Judas Priest, so one thing before I ask next question, we talked about Pumpkin United. Think about having Ripper and Halford.
Oh, see, that would be great.
Yeah,
That'd be dope.
I would love to
That'd be
see
dope.
that.
That would
Me
be
too.
great, you know?
Me too.
Yeah.
And play all, the albums
Both
from
eras,
Ripper.
yeah. Because when I feel like I've seen the Halloween Pumpkins United 2 or 3 times. Well, I mean, I'm not calling it Pumpkins United anymore. It's just like how they tour now,
Yeah, right.
But I mean, we're so blessed and lucky here in Vegas
Yeah.
because, we get to see it I got to see it at the Brooklyn Bowl. We were there with you guys.
Yeah, it was the best.
And I was just like,
Right.
man, we're at the Brooklyn Bowl, and in Europe, you're gonna see them in a giant arena or South America.
From a mile away.
Yeah,
You're so
right.
far
Yeah.
away, and here we are, like 10 feet away, and it's just like, oh, this is so badass. They have all 3 of their singers, and
Yeah.
it was great. And I also saw it when I play it at Hell in Heaven. They were playing as well, but I was like, I just saw the same show at the Brooklyn Bowl 3 weeks ago. It's too far away. It's too far away.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But speaking of Halford, so you have some news to share as well, Carlos.
Yes, we're gonna be doing the Resurrection album 25-year anniversary with Metal Mike Davis, and Ronnie Lipsick. And I wanted to throw out also the date because I have my notes here.
And you'll be singing in lieu of Mr. Halford.
Correct. And it's such a
awesome.
very important, time in heavy metal history, right? Because Halford was releasing that album in the middle of, the grunge kind of, still assumption as per se.
Yeah.
And also I think that the album played a very important standpoint in the metal community in general.
Yeah.
Because, Halford was basically kind of like taken by the label and the white collars of heavy metal into, kind of like a pushed out for, coming out of the closet basically, right, during that time. And I think that album has such more like sincerity and also like it's so much deeper than most people think,
Yeah.
because that came out, you can see throughout all the theme of the songs of it is really his resurrection where he's, coming out back in the scene. And I remember when he was releasing that album and selling millions of copies,
It was such a good
Priest
album.
was struggling at
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
selling tens of thousands of copies.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember.
and that he kind of like proved the point that the metal community is not only like a super like inclusive industry, because we don't care what's your sexual orientation or your color of your skin or how your hair look like.
Yeah.
And I've seen that throughout the world because we are, the ones under the perpetrators, right? So like we basically come out as being heard in that community, because heavy metal speaks from our chest everything that we feel, right? And against the system, against prejudice, against all these things. There are things that divide us, because in reality, I believe that the main message in this album of Resurrection is that Halford is coming out, just showing everyone here that we can be in the same room, respect our differences, even if they're like, sports, different political, religious, and put in the same room the people in that same inclusive way that he felt when he first started singing heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
So this is what he felt. He felt that finally he found a place that he belongs, where the people they have the same feeling of rebel-like, individuals that are being under oppression their whole life, but now this is how we get it out of our chest.
Because it's like you said, it's such a community.
Yes.
When you see someone on the street with the T-shirt, like, hell yeah.
Yes, right.
It's like you've never seen the person before, but it's still kind
But
of
you
that.
kind of know.
Yeah, that kind of friendship, right?
I have a question.
It's instant, right?
Yeah.
I kind of have a question, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys know the answer, maybe you know the answer, because I really don't. Because it was such a long time ago. So when Halford left Priest, did it have to do with his coming out, or did it
It's something.
Was it a little bit? Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, man, did people? I mean, it's so a long time ago. People really don't realize.
But
like,
that's the 90s. It was the 90s, right?
yeah,
Late 90s.
90s.
Or mid, yeah, 90s.
yeah.
so
It's like, man, I can't imagine
year of
anybody making an
2000
issue of
when
that anymore.
The album came out, yeah. But the thing is that that was probably the last drop in the cup, as per se, right? So we
Okay,
don't know.
so we don't
know.
know.
This is a background thing that happened, whatever it is, a situation. But that has proven in that period of time when he was, coming out as stating, hey, this is my sexual orientation, that shouldn't really matter with any kind of music I perform.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm an artist and this is my personal life, and basically I'll do whatever I want because
But
I am
maybe-
Rob Halford.
But maybe the rest of the band at that time
Metal God.
didn't
Yes.
agree with that. Maybe
That's why I'm
I
like,
think
did the band
maybe.
I
have a
don't believe-
problem with that?
I
Even
don't believe
though
they did.
He was,
No, they knew from day
I was
one.
going to say, yeah, he
Obviously.
was privately out to all of them. I'm pretty
Obviously.
sure.
Right.
Yeah,
But maybe
Yes.
they just didn't want to go full public.
Full
maybe
pub-
they didn't think it was necessary, but maybe he felt like he wanted
He
to.
wanted to.
Yeah.
That
Like-
might have been more the point of contention. Yeah.
I honestly, I strongly believe that this was more of an industry and management kind of standpoint.
Absolutely.
The business.
than
Yeah,
it was
I
with,
agree with that.
with any of
Yeah.
the band members.
Yeah.
This unfortunately, music has this background as well, right? And we've been in the music industry for over 30 years, and we've seen it all. you
Yeah,
know?
right.
So it's hard to say. So we're gonna be doing this 25-year anniversary tour, and I have here the dates and the venues for it. Hold on. All right, so we're gonna be playing Rochester, New York on November 12th, and it's gonna be at the Pineapple Jacks. I'm pretty sure you guys in New York know where that's
Pineapple
at.
Jacks.
Pineapple Jack.
And also, so Lowell, Massachusetts, we're going to be playing there on November 13th at the Tafeta Music Hall. And Albany, New York on November 14th at the Empire Underground. And we're going to be doing a Clifton, New Jersey at the Dingbats on
Oh, that's pretty famous.
November 15th.
Yeah.
I've jammed there quite a few times.
Oh, cool.
With Immortal Guardian when we're on the road with Firewind, with Metal Mike when we recorded an album together, releasing the Metal Worker back in over a decade ago. That's the first time I played there at the Dingbats. And over there, it's gonna be a special party too, because there are people flying from all over the world for that show there, and we have more plans for the Resurrection.
Right.
Unleashed, which we're going to be doing these shows here, but it's just a start.
Yeah.
We're going to be working on putting more, ideas on the road and whatnot.
Because Metal Mike, he wrote a lot of these songs, right? I mean,
Yes,
the whole album.
him.
right? Yeah.
Yes, and also Mike Davis was the bass player for Halford
okay.
as well, right?
Yeah.
And then Ron, he played with Overkill and a bunch of other bands.
Oh yeah.
So he's filling in because Bobby Jazerback is, with his gigs right now. He's super busy.
Oh yeah.
He plays with George Strait.
George Strait and
Like he
many
plays a
other
huge
bands,
gig. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Pretty legendary.
Yeah.
Yes, back in the day, I remember when I went to San Antonio, and it was Bobby's birthday.
Oh yeah.
And it was my friend Mark Washoe. He's Metal Mike's manager, and he picked me up in Austin, Texas. So we drove to San Antonio for Bobby's birthday. Yeah. And we got to this spot and he was playing his band and a bunch of covers and a bunch of just fun, straight up fun, right? So we were there. As soon as I walk into the play, they just started like first song. That's when we were coming in. So I was walking in, just waiting for him to kind of finish, and we were finally, have a hangout. And then he looks and he's playing the first song, man, and he stands up on the drums like that playing, and he points at me. He goes on the microphone. He goes, Zema, and he was like, he was hammered. He was hammered too, man. And I was like, Zema, come over here, man. And he's playing like the middle of the song, and I come over right by the drums there. And they're jamming, and I was like, do you know any AC/DC, man? So we played some jams together, like for his birthday and whatnot, and I got over, and then their singer came back, and they started, it was like an all-night jam, bro. It was like hours of jam. And then I went to the bar to grab something to drink, and then I looked there, and they said, we have a special today for Bobby's Bomb. And I was like, what's Bobby's Bomb? And it was like, no, we made a drink for Bobby. We made a drink for him and whatnot. So I went there to see what they were drinking, man. It was like this drink. You could see like 3 levels of like liquor that they were there. Yeah. They just formed like this heterogenic solution where you could see the layers, right? And they're just taking these shots. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds scary, man. Anyway, but they love him. They love him so much down there that the places they apparently make the drink.
That is cool.
In his honor, So that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, where was it? Well, some place we were when they had a Motorhead burger to honor Lemmy. So
that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
I don't remember.
Was that in Belgium? Maybe. Yeah.
It had to be. Why didn't we? Wait, we didn't end up going in there? I don't remember. I think it was Belgium.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Is it got to be a combo where you have Jack and Coke with a burger?
Yeah, probably.
With the Jack and Coke standard.
And Lemmy.
It tastes better with Jack and Coke.
Yeah, man. So let me ask you regarding Halford now and the album Resurrection. I remember my favorite song, maybe one of my all-time favorite songs. In all the genres. No, I'm exaggerating, but Silent Screams.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Such a good song. I love that song.
Yeah, and it has everything, like the slow part and then like hate. So you have studied the lyrics obviously now.
Yeah.
Is there like a deeper meaning on that song? I never thought about the lyrics really, but
yes. I mean, so that song, embodies very much that whole like repression and whatnot. Because if you think about it, like throughout history of music and whatnot, some artists were kind of like repressed in certain levels, right? So there were certain subjects you could not talk about. And the Silent Screams, he puts out a lot of that, like he mentions, being accused of being a Satanist. You can tell like by the poetry that he uses, because Halford is a great lyricist, right? Mm-hmm. And the message that he's putting out in that song speaks about that, the oppression on his attitude, also as being on the scene and whatnot, because he in the lyrics where he says in that part that right in the beginning when he mentions that here I am standing with a needle in my heart. Right. That's when he left. You feel like when he
right. I know, such a good song, right?
When he feels like when he was there with all the people that he loved. And he was living that for so many years with his partners there, going through all the ups and downs in the industry and surviving through the rough, and finally building the name Judas Priest. And he was there, where he says, he was always chasing his dreams, throughout this whole time until he lost the ones that he loved all the way. And but imagine for him as well as an artist and being the age that he is right now, right? imagine how many friends he lost also on the road, you know, of this, because the older we get as an artist, because also we get involved very much in the deep of our, you know, emotional aspect, and we get involved artistically. Automatically, we're already getting involved emotionally, right? Because art has that. If you listen to a singer and that really doesn't touch your heart, it doesn't matter how good of a singer he is, right? So Halford is much of that for being such like a dynamic and also eclectic singer, right? He has so many voices, so many interpretations, so many approaches. And right in that moment, he shows that, you know, another thing that he mentions also there is that all that matters is who I am now. You know, so like it stands very strongly in a sense that no matter how many haters out there, doesn't matter how many, you know, and this is what the silent screams are, because in that song he repeats in several moments that still here I scream because all the pain you know I've carried, it still hangs on to me, you know. So that's in what that kind of the silent screams, you know, mean. Okay. Because it's something that's been suffocating him for so many years, and now on that song he delivers it. Like this is the reason why now I feel free because of that, you know. So like
I can hear
free
it.
from judgment, free from judgment, free from all the struggle that he's been through, and proving who he really is, right? And like how, and the most beautiful part of it, I think, on that whole album is the fact that the metal community embraced him, you know. So it doesn't matter, man. We got you. You know, and everybody just carrying him in their shoulders throughout all the way, man. You see, I was there and watched, you know, him in Rockin Rio right when he came out with that album. You know, they played right before Maiden. And this is like hundreds of thousands of people, right? And you can tell, man, like, you know, even Metal Mike, like just the pressure of looking to hundreds of thousands of people.
That's like,
you know.
Huge,
like
massive show.
But when he stepped on stage, though, you could see his light from miles away, you know. You can feel it. It's like he's just definitely where he belonged, you know. And this is what the beauty of metal is, right? When we are within in our, you know, our scene, in our environment, it's just so fulfilling for us. This is our essence, right? So it's really cool, man.
No, I'm happy, really cool. and I mean, you are one of the few who can make it justice, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can sing the Halford stuff. My favorite Halford thing of all time. See, I like Halford's humorous side. He's got the best Instagram ever. Have you guys followed him on Instagram?
Yes. I think I do,
Oh my God, he is funny. He'll put up like hysterical things, like in his tie-dye shirts, and like, I mean, he just goes super hard on being goofy now, and it's great. He has the funnest and funniest Instagram. But like my recent most favorite, well, within the last few years, because it came out a few years ago, but in the Dio documentary, there's some behind the scenes footage of when they did the We're Stars, the big group metal charity song thing.
I know that. I know it well.
And so, but there's some behind the scenes footage in the Dio documentary that you're not seeing in the We're Stars, you know, video of some of the recordings that were happening. And just to preface this, I say I love Don Dokken, but Dokken is in the studio. Don Dokken's in there recording, and Dio, the only other person he has in there that he's allowing to critique from the vocal booth is Halford. Oh, right. That's it. Nobody else is in there, you know, giving the say-so, but Halford's standing behind him, I think either shirtless or in a tank top with like leather gauntlets on and like like totally leather daddied out as usual, and like this, you know, and Don Dokken's kind of given like a little like, you know, not because, you know, I love Dokken, but he was not even close to the the badass that Dio or Halford is as
Yeah,
far as
no,
like his presence, his personality. And you could also tell he's kind of young and a noob and totally shitting his pants on the other side of the microphone. And Halford's just like chuckling in there. And like Dio's like, come on, man, that's not very metal. I thought you know, I thought you metal. He's like, yeah, but I mean, like, it's Dio and Halford on the other side.
Yeah, talk about respect, right? Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yes.
it's so funny. It was hysterical because you just have Halford back there like, I would make you my bitch so fast, you know? And just a total control. Like, it was so awesome. It's just so badass.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that it's out on Blu-ray now.
Well, yeah, because it has to be.
Yeah, we saw it
It's on
in the
YouTube.
theaters.
Yeah, we saw it in the theater too. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I
need
think
to
you
see
can
it
watch
again.
it. Yeah.
It's been like 2
Oh yeah,
years.
yeah, because that was one of the few times I cried in the movie theater.
Oh,
yeah.
it's such a moving documentary.
Yeah.
Such a good documentary. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Another artist too that went through all those phases to build up to who
Yeah.
he became, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
What a good documentary. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
watch the Dio documentary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Definitely recommend.
Kids.
Definitely recommend it.
Yeah, no, it was so cool. And I remember that the recording, well, the video they had, the elongated video with all the guitar solos.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
yes.
because I have always been such a big fan of Yngwie Malmsteen.
Same.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And he's like coming in, and then the guys from Spinal Tap like making fun of, oh, I love that he has Yngwie J. Malmsteen, so we don't mix him up with all the other Yngwie Malmsteens around the world.
It's so good. It's so good.
That's great.
Yeah, but it was a fun, and I liked the song as well. I mean, it was good.
What a great song.
Yes.
I love the song.
Yeah.
Great
I love it.
composition.
No.
And I think it was actually, was it Vinny and, no, not Vinny.
Vinny
Vivian
Appice?
Campbell.
And Vivian Campbell.
Who wrote it.
Most
Oh,
like
probably.
that. Not
Most
sure,
likely.
but most
yeah.
likely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
At that time, I
Yeah.
think so.
Well, obviously with Ronnie as well.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. So before, one more question regarding the voice hacks. We didn't really talk about what you actually do on your YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
So can you explain?
Yes. Well, I do a little bit of everything. A little of this, a little of that. On my YouTube channel, I mostly teach people how to sing and scream for rock and metal. And I started doing that a long time ago because I started teaching people online like a long time ago. I've been teaching people for years, like since I was like 18, you know, you start teaching lessons. But, and so now that's like 25 years. It's a really long time. And so in 2012-ish, I was living in very, very rural, middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. And like very middle of nowhere, like nothing there. I was even surprised. I was so surprised I got DSL internet, but I did. But it was only like 15 megabytes, you know, and that was actually fairly decent.
That was
Definitely
good, yeah.
good for the area at the time, you know. And I was so like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And that was enough to start teaching people online. But I didn't even have a YouTube then. I was just getting them through other means. And I had made a bunch of videos around 2014, 2015, and I just uploaded them to YouTube. But I just really didn't think much of it, you know, and I just kind of left them there.
Yeah.
Tutorials. They were all just tutorials.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any reaction videos or anything like that. And then I was like, I came back one day and there was like 15,000 subscribers or something. And I was like, oh, weird. I wasn't trying to do anything with this, you know? And then the reaction things just started blowing up. That started happening at a certain point. That wasn't really much of a thing.
It was like the pandemic is what really started that.
Really, but this was before the pandemic. There was a couple of voice teachers like Sam Johnson, who actually is another YouTuber that I don't see doing anything anymore. I don't really know Sam, but we're acquainted because he's actually sent some of his people to me to learn the screams and stuff. But he had a huge reaction channel for a while around that time. This is back in like 2017. This is a while ago. And so then I got done with a tour in 2018. And one of my friends was like, do some reaction videos. And I was like, all right, I guess, you know, like, because I just didn't, like, it was so new, you know, but people's channels were blowing up or whatever. And I was like, you know, I guess I can do this. And yeah, I started with this Nightwish video, which is actually fairly short and succinct because I kind of didn't know much. I was like, okay, well, this is what this person's doing. This is what that person's doing. This is what that person's doing. Like, see ya, And because for me, it's not so much a reaction, being a person who's been in metal for so long. And I try to tell the audience that, but a lot of people are just finding me randomly. They don't really know that. And a lot of times it's like, I'm not really reacting because I've seen it before, but they want the vocal coach explanation or whatever, or some answers.
Your analysis of it. Because you're educated and you have that educated input.
Kind of like charismatic voice that she does as well.
Exactly, right. Something like that. And then she came along after and started doing some of that, and that kind of got the channel to more eyes. But I haven't done too much of that content because more what I'm doing recently is more back to like teaching tutorials and things like that, because that's more of the searchable. It's hard. And you guys know this probably from your channel. It is hard to get the search optimized when you're not showing someone how to do something. And it could be like how to fix your car, how to do this, how to do that.
True.
But if there's a how in there, it's much easier to get your YouTube videos viewed.
Yes.
And so it is a little bit easier as far as like, because people are looking for a specific thing, and I'm like, this is how to do that specific thing, and obviously that brings me my students, that I have. Mostly YouTube is where people find me. Some people actually find me on TikTok, which is different and interesting.
That's another whole thing.
That's a whole other thing, which again, I'm semi-acquainted with. I sort of throw stuff up there, and
we do too.
I'm kind of like,
we don't even care.
Right, you throw it up there.
Not that we don't care. We're just not paying attention to that.
Yes.
We can only pay attention to certain social media things.
You can't pay attention too much. And YouTube's changed a lot. I was very surprised on this time coming back. Like, man, the shorts get so many more views than the long form videos at a point. And I don't know what YouTube's doing with that, because they still, I think, probably get more of their ad revenue from long format videos. So I'm not sure what they're doing, but they're trying really hard, I noticed, to compete. And that's really what shorts weren't even around when I started. So I've noticed that now. It's like my shorts reach much further, much faster than
because I want to say people, they have 30 seconds, but they don't have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's more like it's just can you pay attention that long? That's why I would rather do the 30-minute thing or 20-minute or whatever, or even a podcast.
Especially for an instructional type of video.
Right. But how are you going to instruct somebody? But people squeeze all that in a lipstick tutorial in like 30 seconds. It's like, it really takes longer than that. And how would you guys, instruct a proper way to vocal, whatever, and in 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
No,
yes.
But they want you to
you.
try. You got to try it.
I know they're like pushing it. Well, I noticed the other day they just expanded like 2 days ago the shorts length to like 3 minutes.
That's better.
Okay.
And I was like, this is so much better, because if they're just going to push it. So it is kind of strange, the response to the stuff you put out changes over the years. Even if you put out the same stuff, it can have a dramatically different response depending on the platform. These platforms are all competing with each other, but it is kind of crazy. And I do agree with what you're saying, like about how you were like, I'd rather do this and do the long format. I think you should still. I think the moral of the story, after being around on the social media and watching like it change and the different algorithms and the different ways, is just create good content, create good things that have some value to it. And that's really all you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of way to manipulate those algorithms. Like, you can sort of, but you kind of can't.
Because if you're good, you're going to get the views.
Yeah.
Yes,
what it
but
is,
also because YouTube is, repackaging to readapt to attention span that actual consumers right now are consuming in terms of content, right?
But sometimes I fall down a YouTube hole, and I'm not. I'm watching like hour-long podcasts or whatever.
Yes,
I
still love that.
So
we can't give up on that, or they'll disappear.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you
Yes.
still just need to make good content that reaches the people that you have of value. Because if you just make content for an algorithm, kind of like what you were saying about, if you think about the fans when you're composing, which is something Rick Rubin also says. He's always like, screw the fans, don't pay attention to them, make good music,
Yes.
And I think it's screw the algorithm. Like, ride it when it takes you up, but it's going to be random because it's going to change a lot.
Yes,
1 year it could be
change
this
with
thing.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to know when it's all changing. You got to kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Same with AI. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like readapting to what your consumer is consuming right now, right? Because this when Instagram, TikTok kind of, forced that
Yes.
into how people consume information and content,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So-
The reels and stuff. The
Exactly.
reels, the
Yeah.
shorts, and the tick. They're all about this. They're all the same. They're all three
Yes.
competing with each other. So
Exactly. So and also like the vertical format.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Because
when
they're on their phone.
people are
Yeah.
on their phones
Yeah.
and whatnot. So it's kind of like, man, I'm going through all my social medias here. Then it's Facebook, then it's Instagram, then it's TikTok. Now it's YouTube. So I guess like that's another thing too.
So that's why
they
YouTube
kinda-
changed.
Yeah.
Just to go with.
Exactly.
And I guess that's
Yeah.
smart. I mean, they're like shit. We need to get some of their.
Yeah.
It's
We need
true.
to get some of their the audience. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, because to your point, like how people consume social media today is they have their coffee break or bathroom break, and then it's going to take on the
Right.
phone. Yeah.
Scrolling, yeah.
Yeah. And then when they come home, they maybe, if they have a family, it's like they have to take care of the kids and stuff like that. So it's just limited time to consume depending on where you are in your life.
Yes.
So,
Such a
Very
good point.
true.
but it's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. And so today, I mean, your day job, so to speak, is you're teaching students.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your main job.
That's
if you will.
that's my only job.
It's been for decades, right?
For a while,
For a while.
and then because I live in Vegas, and you guys kind of know this a little bit because I recruited you for one thing was
Oh, yeah,
like
the acting.
acting is my side hustle kind of, but I view that totally as a side hustle. It's not lucrative really. Like
Yeah.
you get paid when you're doing acting gigs, but they're they're very far between. It's not like a consistent. But it's cool to live in Vegas where we have that opportunity to do those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It can be
it's
there.
cool.
And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
more and more as well.
Oh
Hopefully
yeah,
the big film studio will happen here.
I hope so. Yeah, everybody's really pushing for that.
Yeah. So are you want to do more of that if you get a chance? Is that-
I want to. But it also takes a lot of time and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it keeps me like, because of the YouTube and the teaching, like I'm literally inside all the time. I don't see anyone. I have no coworkers. I
Right,
don't
yeah.
interact with anyone. And so, and I tend to kind of actually lean towards the more introverted side as well. So it just kind of like compounds that tendency, and it's not so good for always, I don't think. So the acting stuff, I did theater and things always for years when I was a kid,
Okay, huh.
yeah, which is what you kind of do with your music when you're growing up. You don't have a lot of outlets, and especially when you're a child. It's not like metal bands. Now they have like School of Rock and stuff, but none of that.
They
None
didn't
of
have
that.
that then.
Yeah, back in my time, that was not a thing. So you had like musicals and like that was it. So you had a lot of theater and musicals and stuff like that. And so I don't have any aspirations about like being a big time, career principal actor or anything. I just kind of view it as something fun, and it gets me out of the house. It's sort of like, I have that skill set, and you need someone to do that for 3 hours. And I think the reason I keep getting stuff is because I don't care very much, I'm not really stressing
Not
about.
desperate, yeah.
And I just keep getting stuff, and I keep getting stuff, and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, okay. It just gets me out of the house. They film a lot of stuff at the casinos. I've gotten to know a lot of the casinos now, and see parts of the casinos you would never see, VIP areas that they film in, that they rent out,
Right, backstage. And
like
whatnot.
places that are just
Yeah.
super nice, that like the penthouse lounge that you're not probably going to rent yourself, like being a person that lives in Vegas,
right.
at an or incredibly expensive property like Caesars or something.
Mm-hmm.
You get to go up there and party and, do things and see cool places. So, I mean, it's a lot of work too, but it gets you out, gets you active, gets you meeting people. You meet all these other Vegas people. And I've met some other musicians that also do that. Some people I've known, some musicians in town, some booking people in town. town, I've run into them like, oh, you do this too, you know. So it's like it's cool. So it can be fun, and that's the way I get out of the house. But otherwise, my full-time job, everything I do is just lessons and courses and all that.
You don't have any bands now because you've been in a lot of cool bands as well.
Yeah. I don't really have any metal bands at the moment, and I think it's just sometimes I do covers with Funeral Haze in town. Sometimes we do that.
Is that still happening?
Honestly, we haven't done a show in a year, but we're not like broken up or anything. I think it's the typical Vegas thing where if you have a bunch of musicians, they're going to be getting busy. My drummer plays with Double Wide as well, which is sort of a bigger Vegas band, and but that's the case for everyone in Vegas. They're like doing more than one thing. But I just haven't done a whole lot as far as that goes. As far as original metal bands go, it's kind of tough because I think at this point I'm burned out on the original metal band, just because not that I wouldn't want to put out any more original music, but I think if I do the route I would have to go at this point, unless it's like some very established act, and even then the people have to be right, because I've been around a long time. I know a lot of these people, that have bigger careers than me, but we've always been in the same scene. So sometimes they're people I've shared bandmates with. Sometimes I get messages and, I know a lot of the details. Let's just put it this way. So it would also additionally, like a big band doesn't always mean people that you want to deal with or work with. So, it would have to be the absolute right scenario and a lot of things to be worth it, because the problem is just musicians are musicians, and most of the time they're only good at music, which is great. But that means that you also have like a really wide gamut of eccentric personality types, and very wide degree of very wide range of executive function, and day-to-day function, or even just the ability to do anything outside of that. Like and it's blown my mind. It's blown my mind over the years how brilliant some of my friends have been on the musician, and then like how outside of that, I'm talking to them about a concept or explaining an idea, and it's like there's nothing there. And sometimes it's their crazy personality. Most of the time, it's like there's a lot of eccentric personalities in art and music and creative. I'm just kind of burned out on that. And as also as a female musician, I'm just burned out. I can't tell you how many situations I've been where it's like the person hiring me thought it's going to be a great idea to have a shit hot female singer, and then they're pissed, then the script flips because now the band is getting attention, but they want the attention to go back on them now. That always happens to me, stuff like that, and I am just like so over that, repeating that cycle, because that's not ever been my intention, as a musician, and I have never intentionally tried to make it that way at all. And it's very frustrating because you're the female person and singing as you think you're going to be the front person. Even if you're not the front person, if you're the female in the band, you'll be somewhat of a focal point. But it happens a lot where people want to sell you and then they're jealous and pissed because people want to pay attention to you now, So it's like, I just can't deal with that. And a lot of that kind of weird jealousy, ego, bitterness, like I don't have any room for that, because like I don't do any of that stuff. So I just feel it just gets really, really old to me, and I'm just very much over that. And I think that's why I haven't bothered to pursue. Well, I've walked away from a lot of stuff. Why I haven't bothered. I've had bandmates who would like scream at me backstage. One time, screaming so loud at like the whole band that like is before the encore, and I was just like, oh my god, everyone in the audience now knows the situation behind the scenes. And then we have to come out for the encore till like nothing's going on, and there's like a huge room of people. And that's also why I kind of started Funeral Haze, because it was like there's no pressure. It was covers. It's covers. We don't have to like we get to play like our favorite music, and I don't have to. There's not a lot of drama because there's not a lot of personal stuff at stake. You're playing covers.
And you're not required to look like a hooker on stage either.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just be,
you can just be you.
Yeah. And that's what that whole scene, that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
It's like being an outcast and finally feeling included when the music
Exactly.
That kind of music brought those people together.
Exactly.
The
That's
goth.
really
The goth
cool.
scene, because
Yeah.
Funeral
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
definitely
it's a whole
more
different
goth.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more goth than metal. And so it's like, and I actually did, the last thing I went for was I did the Nevermore audition, because I know Jeff for a very long time. He's another person that I know in person, and who's always been super cool, because it goes back to when he put his solo album out on Century Media at the same time. That's when Nevermore was all breaking up and having all their times, and Worrell had his solo albums and Jeff had his and they both had brilliant solo albums.
Yeah.
But my band that was on Century Media at the time, Luna Mortis, we had the same A&R guy, and they wanted us to go on tour with Loomis and kind of do double duty, except for me, and like basically we'd swap me out, and then Loomis comes on. Now it's Jeff Loomis's set. That my whole band was going to be like his backing band. So we got to know each other a little bit and had a few conversations about that. It never actually came to fruition, but we basically would have been his band, as well as like doing the support for the tour. That was the type of level, that the only type of thing I would go for. Is like I knew the people involved and what I would be getting into, and that they're good guys, and that it fit vocally and that kind of stuff. But I had no plans of actually getting in, I don't think. I kind of just went for it because I know the guys and stuff. And I can sing in that register and in that style. And I think it was very well received. But,
But it could have been cool. I mean, because switching it up, think about Linkin Park.
Yes.
I mean, they did a great job switching it up.
She was a perfect fit.
She's a perfect fit.
Definitely.
It doesn't always work, though. And even though I'm in support of it, and I have no like male versus female, I don't have my heart in one pot on that. But I can see like I think who they went with, right? Isn't
Emily. Yeah, we love her.
Yeah,
but,
she's great.
It'd be better if Chester was. Well, he was never coming back.
He's not coming back,
He's
bro.
not.
Yeah.
And if he does, I think we all need to think about what's going on. But yeah.
But that standpoint, I think that it combines everything. What you're saying is the fact that the fan, he's never had a chance to have like work with artist development.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he's a fan.
Yeah.
And that what I think it's very wrong with the scene is the fact that we end up meeting so many sociopaths in the music industry is because of the fact that what is really lacking is that artist development, right?
You're right. They don't do that much anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're
Remember
right.
when Metallica had a psychologist in there with them just to be able to finish them?
Which I thought was lame.
Well, but let's face it. Let's put it this way.
Some kind of monster, right?
Yeah, that was when I jumped off the ship. Sorry, Metallica.
Yeah, it's all good. But like on every corporate, you see the department that works with the mental health. And we were just talking about that the other day. Like, why you think there are all these people that all of a sudden they have a gun and they go to public places and start shooting people? Like, because mental health, I think, it doesn't have enough attention, right?
Yeah. You're right.
Some people just don't bring that to surface. I mean, when you are in that loophole where you get bullied wherever you are, and you get, for some reason, you just can't find yourself, it's a very maddening, spot to be. And I think like in the music industry, we suffer a lot of that too, right? Even like with Dio, for example. If I, from what we have seen in the documentary, from what we know from his, history, and also like with every person that's worked with him before and that we personally know, right? So you hear constantly, the fact that there was a time that he was struggling, right? And he was Ron James Dio, right? So he was struggling in the scene, like to find his space and to get his music back into the standards for profiting, right? So I think this whole aspect of not having people in the scene that have an artist development work, even if it's not a psychologist or somebody in a big label that works with artist development, but meeting the people that in the music industry that can actually be mirrored as your mentor,
right?
Because people see somebody being an asshole with everyone and they think that's cool, well, that's going straight down, man. Because like nowadays,
because it will not work in the corporate world.
Right?
No.
Nobody will never put up with that in a nowadays standpoint.
No.
That whole rock star attitude and whatnot. It might have worked back in the 80s when we didn't know better. But now with 200,000 same exact musicians in the same block everywhere you go, they have the same technique. They're always somebody that's better than you in doing something that you do in your art realm, right? So this shows much of that, necessity of having an artist developing, or at least just stopping as an artist and understanding that you need to have a level of respect with your peers.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they are in your band or not. It doesn't matter if they are in your age group or not. And that's even another aspect too in metal, different than other styles, You see a pop artist.
Professionalism.
Exactly. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be hard to be professional,
No, but it is.
Some
That's
people
what I was saying.
just don't grasp.
I'd say a lot of people come from broken homes, not a good upbringing. So they really don't understand.
Exactly.
But
also, like you said, eccentric
you have a good point.
personalities.
Yep. I mean, musicians and artists, like the whole, I know it's an Austin Powers, but the genius and insanity being very close to each other.
Yes.
The fine line.
Yes.
I mean, how many times have we seen that I was telling my students this because I've had a crazy life, and I think the second half of my life is much nicer than the first half of my life. So I don't know how, I think I'm a little eccentric, but I don't know how I didn't quite become this way, So I have a lot of compassion, and I understand why some of my eccentric cohorts are the way that they are. But I'm always warning that of my friends, and I'm like, you can't just fixate on like one band and this one lineup. It didn't necessarily work that well in the 20th century, but people were able to make it work because bands got huge in like 4 or 5 years before one of those. Now we're holding on like big 20-some 30-year careers, like long careers, and we see more rotating lineups because it's no matter what, it's not sustainable, these crazy, but there will always be, I always tell them, I'm like, you're always going to have people who are a little weird or a little crazy. And if it's getting, there's a fine line. If it's helping the art and it's not getting in the way of the function, then you can sustain it for a little bit. But there's like a very delicate tipping point. And personally, the reason why I've walked away from the acts that I walked away from was there was something going on like that just tipped it, and it's out of your control. You can't control how other people behave, though you wish you could, or you even try to help them understand. But at the end of the day,
and you throw in addictions. That's another
on top
whole
of
thing.
it. That will add
That's
to
another,
it. And that sometimes is the result of the quirky personality, or the cause of, or the result of. I mean,
exactly.
And
it's like a circle or a domino thing.
You can't even do anything about that either, right? So it's like you can't make somebody like quit their substance or change the thing, and so it's like you can try, but metal bands, like, we're also not making enough money, so it's like
speaking of that, the financial piece, that's always that can also break people. I mean, we have seen this year like your friend Zoe from Cradle of Filth. They had the contract stuff that blew up, right? And speaking of crazy people, one of my favorite bands, As I Lay Dying, and they have had a lot of drama. I know now your friend Bill is in. So I don't know what to think about.
I'm
we
judging.
can't control people's choices.
I'm judging because after a while, like, for the most part, I'm like, okay, I think the artists and the music, for the most part, I do separate them. Being a person who's trained in classical music, I mean, it's like, if you look up what Schubert was up to, it wasn't super wonderful, and like a lot of things, there's a lot of like tainted, again, eccentric personalities. But in the case of Tim Lambesis, we've got some pretty gnarly videos.
And it's so well known, and it's more like, whoever's going to join that band, shame on them.
That's
much.
where it
Because
is.
you can't blame him anymore because
Unfortunately.
everyone knows.
We've
like,
seen the
Yes,
videos.
yes,
I mean,
unfortunately, it
like
is true.
animal
Yeah.
abuse videos, and I'm very surprised because I know.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this if this goes on the thing. You might want to vet this before you put this in your video. But I'm pretty sure on Metal Sucks, like we had him like kicking a dog or something like that.
Oh,
so there's some serious
and I see him
stuff.
beating himself up.
Yeah, and
I'm like, well,
yeah.
okay.
But
what's wrong with
another
that?
thing
No.
that we're talking about, right? So when we were mentioning like this shift that we had in the beginning of 2000s, that's when it really started. There was this very vicious cycle in the record labels where they would get a band and invest $1 million on them, get $4 million back, kick them out, get the next. So this period of time, that for a couple decades there, almost, we had this very volatile kind of like a sense of branding every band, because they use the same formula for a bit where they would just do the right investments with the right marketing channels, channels for awareness with either radios or anything. So this shift with the internet being streaming and being having a lot of podcasts instead of now TV channels and things, everything happened together to bring this what we're seeing today in the scene, right? Because the overexposure of everything made a little harder for certain artists to kind of like find their way into niches. And not only to mention that because of that also you have, I've never seen so many like definitions of metal in my life. So like recently, right?
Yeah, I
There's
thought it was just
folk
me. I'm
metal.
like, has it always been like
No.
it
Right?
hasn't.
Yeah, so it's like folk metal, and then there's like this heavy classic, but not neoclassic death metal, tech death,
Modern metal.
and then this so it's
Depressive black metal.
so-
I've heard depressive, suicidal black metal.
exactly. So
Christian black metal.
right, yes, white metal. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So then it becomes this kind of thing, because back in the day people used to have their favorite bands, right? And like listen to Megadeth and Metallica. I could come up with a name to define Megadeth and come up with a name to define Metallica, you know what I'm saying? And then that would be my way to stamp a label on any kind of metal. But nowadays, they just try to, it's just very niche, right? So within metal on itself, which is already kind of like that. And then you now have subdivisions within metal, and then you have subdivisions within every little part of metal. Okay, so you're power or you're prog power,
Right?
or you
exactly.
are progressive metal, or you are technical metal or math metal.
Yeah.
There's math metal, and or the gent.
gent, yeah.
Can you gent, bro? I mean, there's several ways to kind of like put into it, but it is kind of like the way that we kind of were developed into observing anything, music or movies or anything, right? When you go there and you look into a sci-fi, and then if there's anything in that sci-fi that's a little horror, the sci-fi guys are not going to like it very much, but then the horror guys are not going to like it because it's got too...
It's like you got to choose one
space thing, right? And then when it becomes to music, when you kind of divide like that too much, then you basically, but you at the same time, you need to package yourself to be able to fit in any group. Like when you're going up below that on DistroKid, you either got to put, there's metal, and then there's
tags,
a bunch of the definitions there. But if I play a tech, death, and neoclassical, then it's not going to be there, right?
Right.
It's not like you're going to Facebook and you're choosing your gender, right? So, but there's a bunch, a bunch of them. No, they should do that then for Spotify, then. But then they also should include on the algorithm people that all classified between this genre and this genre of metal, everything in the between. They should push that to all those crowds together. Otherwise, in certain, for example, I have a pop band. You don't see forgive me if I am being ignorant on my part, but,
No, but
you don't see, like tech pop with or
there's pop
thrash,
rock. Pop rock.
pop rock,
that can
pop punk,
yeah.
right? You kind of do have that,
People
but then
say pop metal now. It
they do?
it depends.
right.
But I
and
think
then
that's like more of a reflective of a metal
metal,
subgenre.
that's a metal division, right?
A pop subgenre.
right.
Yeah. Pop. It's either pop rock, pop rap. I mean, it's dance. Pop. I mean, I guess every category there's different subdivisions.
Exactly.
Maybe if we don't follow,
And we have been criticized in comments if we have talked about this band, like, this is that type of music. And then in the comments, like, no,
it's nothing like
Oh
that.
my God.
It's not
Exactly.
metalcore, it's deathcore. I'm like, well, pardon me.
Oh my
there's
gosh.
exactly.
And I remember growing up in Sweden, when I was a kid, everything was hard rock. And then in the beginning of the 80s, the label started putting heavy metal with a fist, like a little sticker on some albums.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
In Brazil, it kind of had that too.
And I'm like, how do I know what is what? But for me, it was hard rock. I mean, always.
Yeah.
But then I had
But
to
metal was
adapt.
called back in the 80s and even early 90s. It was heavy metal.
Right.
It wasn't
Yeah.
just metal.
Exactly.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Now I cringe. I can't say heavy metal because that just means like a decade to me.
Yes, I agree with that.
So maybe that's probably when that happened, when metal started like it's somewhere in the 90s is when, because you had grunge came out, everything. So then it started subdividing within the metal, so no one calls it heavy metal. It's just
Grunge.
which I think is better. I mean, I think it's fascinating to think about that and to
It's
talk
cool,
about
right? Because you kind of like create also a whole entire folklore of the communities around the world, being being inclusive to that, the thing that they feel like they belong there, right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. You see bands, like that band from Tunisia, Mirath.
I've
They
seen that
have
name, yeah.
they have so much of their culture in their metal that it becomes its own thing. That's something that's fascinating to me. When you see like Sepultura coming out at the time with Roots.
Oh, yeah.
So then you see that showing up in metal. I love that aspect, that the people have that liberty to kind of put their own thing into it and drive it, you know? And I think this is the most important thing really in art is to express yourself, right? Bring your background, bring your experiences and just watch people really relate to that, and be a part of that. And people, how many times like this last tour I did with Heaven's Guardian in Brazil, there was this little kid with the Immortal Guardian shirt that he got when we toured there many years ago. And then a guy with a Heaven's Guardian shirt that was his father. Then
cool.
his father, so with a all beat up Heaven's Guardian shirt, is probably like 30 years old. That shirt will probably like have its own life already. If you take it off, he already walks into your way into the closet. But it's like you see 3 generations of the people that were like, man, this is where I met my wife in the Heaven's Guardian show. Now that his kid's there in the show, like this kind of like thing that metal has is fascinating, because you see these in other genres as well, but I would say that not like in metal, when you see somebody that goes to a metal show, they didn't go there because, the singer was wearing this Gucci jacket, or or had this I don't know what it is, with the other genres. I can just answer for metal here, and I don't get me wrong, I am completely open-minded for all kinds of music, and I jam several different styles of music myself. But there are certain things that only metal has, That's the reason why I've always been in metal. This is the genre that I identify myself with in how I express myself. Now, as an artist, I obviously like to adventure throughout other genres as well and observe and learn also, because every kind of musician, singer, or any player, instrumentist out there will be, having that same expression, how they interpret that music, right? So just observing that from other styles in metal on itself, it's already super rich, where you have, many styles of players, and the way that, some are not even picking. They don't even have a pick,
Right, yeah.
Like Richie Kotzen and some other players, right? So they kind of I like the way that because he used to play the pick, and then he developed himself as a guitar player into that.
Yeah,
And
because he was one of the shredders, like the Shrapnel Records.
Exactly, yeah.
Yngwie and, all these guys.
Shred's not
was
that.
Nitro a shrapnel thing? Nitro?
I think so, right?
I don't know.
But Kotzen got, when he first got into Poison, back in the day, I think might have been like 17 years old. That was when the Shred's Not Dead movement was out, so he was flying. But he also, if you watch analyze on his aspect, for example, he had several fusion albums with Alan Holdsworth, with Greg Howe, with many other Glenn Hughes, so they had many different experiments, he just released an album, I believe, on his 50th anniversary with 50 songs.
Okay.
That he's really good, not only songwriter but guitar player and singer. But
he's a great singer. I mean, his voice is incredible.
But it's he's such a great composer in the sense that he can produce that much material so fast,
Yeah.
So he just released he came out of Smith and Kotzen into releasing an album like that for his 50th birthday, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it he had the Winery Dogs, which right before he was on Mr. Big. So you can tell the man is a hard worker, has a obviously work ethic that it's a very respectful, right? So it's I believe that every artist needs to kind of open their mind into experimenting themselves, even if they stick with what they do best. I think there's so much room for discovering new things and innovating. Innovation, I think it's a very important thing. Other day we were talking about that, where if you wake up in the morning and then you don't listen to a musician that you kind of look up to, I want to play that, I want to learn that, or I want to sing that, or I think for a musician it kind of wastes. You're basically lost your taste for that, Because remember, I believe that every musician is in a constant evolution.
They are,
Because if you are a singer, you are fighting against the aging and changes on your voice, or characteristic of what you're having in terms of allergies, or where do you live, or what's the weather like. If you're world touring, you're going to see all that in 1 month. Or 2 or 3 months,
Singing in Denver, the high altitude.
So that your windmills are not going to do the 10 anymore. You're going to do 3, and you're going to need to catch your breath there, right? But not only that, but preparing yourself, right? When you see Zakk Wylde coming out with, we went to see Pantera, and Zakk was on the top of it, man. And you can tell that he's not only a master guitar player and performer, but you can see that he's working almost like an athlete to keep that performance, So there are many sacrifices that the artists give, It's so much giving, man.
Yeah.
More than it is really from taking. And you can tell by the artist if he believes that the giving is less important than the taking. You can look and see a mile away.
Yeah.
And those artists,
that's true.
You will see out there. And I honestly, this speaking for myself here, you can do however you like. But my personal opinion here, when I see guys performing like Zakk, or we went to also see Bruce Dickinson, the whole entire set, he was amazingly impeccable.
Yeah.
He was the highest energy in that whole band, and he's probably twice or 3 times older than all the members there. You know what I'm saying?
He's mid-60s, right?
And he's performing.
67.
Really?
Yeah. And he's performing like he's a 15-year-old with the same energy, the same passion, the same delivery,
Yeah.
So I believed in that. You know, when I see things like that, like I got super inspired after that show when I got home, you know, like I was in the urge to just play some loud music there and jam, you know, because of that, like that feeling right there. I think every artist need to maintain that on their daily basis as like,
inspiration.
Exactly.
All artists need
Because
that.
I mean, because a lot of these people are now a lot of them are sober.
Yes.
We see that all over the board, right?
Yeah.
And also they are like in Zach Wilde's case, he's working out. He's a beast, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and also he was an alcoholic, but now he's a sober alcoholic, right? So I think, especially nowadays with these kind of bands that have been around for such a long time, they just need to kind of step it up, and they can't behave like they're 21 anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And also I want to touch on the inspiration in terms of music, how you evolve. So Richard Kotzen is one good example. Then you have Chris Broderick. Have you heard him play classical guitar?
Yeah.
He is just amazing.
Amazing guitar player.
Yeah, and then you had Randy Rhoads. He was trained classical guitar and became one of the best rock guitar players ever, right?
Yeah.
And has inspired so many people.
Yeah.
Same thing with Richard Blackmore as well. He's
Yes.
like, I don't even rock music. I don't even like it.
Yes, right.
Richie Blackmore. That guy is just like, every time I hear a story about him, it's like super off the wall. You know what I mean?
Very eccentric,
Very
to say the
eccentric.
least.
But you know, when you said
Chris Broderick.
Chris Broderick. Oh my gosh. I saw Chris Broderick. My friend Nora from Finland.
Oh, yeah.
She was
Yeah.
like, let's go see, you know, Vegas random shows coming into like these random small venues where you see people really up close. She's like, let's go see Chris Broderick's band was coming through, Act of Defiance.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she's like, they're going to play at the Dive Bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we were like, oh my gosh, the Dive Bar. And for everybody watching this that doesn't know Vegas, I love the Dive because they've been actually very good to me over the years. They let me play there a bunch of times, but it's
love that
small.
spot.
It's a small, right? And
Yeah.
it's not, it's same thing with Vamped or any of these small other venues where we've seen people. It's really small. And to see a big artist like Chris Broderick, you know, we're like, wow. Yeah. But, you know, it's Vegas. People are lax about weed everywhere. They don't care. So we're at the Dive, you know, and the reason why it matters is Dive, because I feel like this only would happen at the Dive. So Chris Broderick is playing. There's like hardly anybody there. So like for us, it was great because we're really close, you know, we can see really close. But then there's this guy in the front row who's like smoking a bowl in the venue. Like he's just like ripping his bowl, and he's right in front of Chris Broderick, because also too at the Dive, I mean, it matters because you know there's no barricade or anything like that. It's like here's Chris Broderick, here's the guy, like that close, and he's shredding. He's shredding his ass off. He's doing a great job, not doing any less of a job just because it's a small show. He's kicking ass, and the dude smoking the bowl is just going,
oh my god,
and he's blowing it all across like Chris's hands, and you can see him going like, "What the fuck?"
Special effect.
Yeah, and the dude is like, I don't know if he was trying to like give him mystical like weed hand powers, or
He was inspired.
I don't know.
That's the beauty of metal scene.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't see that.
You don't only have you don't have stories like that in
You
the pop
don't
scene.
see that
you know, like-
anywhere else, you know?
and he kept shredding, and dude kept blowing, and he was just like, screw it.
Yes, I mean, every note there, he's getting higher and higher, you know?
And dude was just like,
Yeah. Oh,
like it was
God.
blessing him
That is
with
so
the
fun.
frankincense from
Yeah.
church or something. You know what I
Blessing,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing. I was like, man, it's Vegas.
But yo, the Dive Bar, you know, what a legendary spot, you know?
Yeah.
The Dive,
like
yeah.
she was saying right, like you see things at the Dive that
You'll never see anywhere else.
It takes people
Things
watching.
you don't want to see.
Yeah,
Exactly.
things you cannot unsee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
you take people watching to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw. You know, there were several witnesses over there when the Golden Shower was performed on stage.
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah. There was a girl that peed on a dude on stage at the dive.
So it's like it's things
That's what that
in the
smell
whole
is.
world.
Wow.
In the
This
whole
is why
world
I
will
give people
only happen at the
a hard
dive,
time
you know?
about. I can't stand the
God.
bandmate that goes, I don't wear shoes on stage, and I'm like, bro, the venues
You
we
have
play
no
at.
idea.
Have you seen what happens on those stages?
You
You
should
put
wear
your feet on that.
your
'cause
shoes.
It ain't
and
grounding
the
you.
little
We're
cover
a
of
foot
it.
off the ground, you know. So I think that's a moot point. Put your shoes back on.
Swear to God.
That is so weird, though.
Right? It takes you another level, man. But that's what I'm saying too. Like I'm also like an advocate for performance expressions, and whatnot. And I feel like some people like just judge what they're wearing and what they're doing. They're dudes, they're doing their thing. They're ladies, they're doing their thing. Sometimes they just want to implement like a burlesque kind of deal with whatever their art that they're implementing to it, and get slashed by the haters and things. I'm 100% down with like, you got to go there and do your thing.
Yeah.
If you think that it might be silly, it might be a good thing, and that might turn into a thing that
Right.
it's your thing now. Going out and doing it and just have the balls to do it, I think it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I think the haters in general, I mean, they are the ones who are jealous. And like, I wish I was that person.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I bet you there's, hundreds of people at least out there in the world that would just do that golden shower live there just to prove a point. But they never done because they never got the balls to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's just true.
yeah, so I think you got to go there. You got to do it. Do you think, seriously, like, do you think that, first time that you see gore shooting blood at everyone, do you think that there was a guy in a room that looked and said, like, oh, that's a great idea? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, another thing too, like Men of War, back in the 80s.
About being shocking.
Exactly.
And Wasp.
Wasp,
Throwing meat on the audience. Yeah.
Exactly, like Men of War, when they walk in the room to take those pictures that you see with the, leopard print Speedos and all the leather and everything, do you think that they looked at each other and said, nice outfit, bro? I don't think so, brother. I don't think so. There was probably somebody there. No, bro, you got to go tour all the way. You got to go tour all the way, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I think all the bands too, right? Like, give an example. Halford, when he comes in for the first time on a Harley on stage. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my thing, man. That's what I do, and this is how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So like,
and the crew is like, you have to bring that fucking motorcycle overseas,
right? So this is cool, man. I think this is the cultural aspect of what we do, like bringing together our cultures and folklore into the deal. Look at Miraf, for example. They were the first metal band that I've seen performing at FIFA World Cup, so they came there, perform at FIFA World Cup. They brought the belly dancers and the whole shebang, So do you think that, I think they would put, like, what do you think that if we bring like belly dancers and this, you post online, people would slay that?
Yeah.
But like, I'm glad that he didn't listen to them and he went there and did it, brought, elements from their culture into their show. And it became this magnificent thing, So like, I think there's a lot of things that in the metal industry is valid and it's acceptable.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, So you got to do it. If
you
you're
gotta do
metal,
it.
you got to do it.
And I mean, we are big fans of when people make an effort to, to dress up, have what's called outfits or costumes, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
And the stage setup, when they bring all their fucking shit, like aeroplanes or dragons. I'm a big fan of that. That's what I grew up with, and Kiss, Alice Cooper, those guys, and that's why I love Ghost, for example. It's
the theatrical,
the theatrical
thing,
thing,
right?
But the issue is, okay, it's not the band members. They're all, amongst all of them, they're all supportive they're all very supportive, but it becomes an issue with the fans because
Yeah.
they all become elitist.
Yeah.
It's true.
And
You have a good point.
they're the ones that are being like horrible and
Yeah.
like bullying each other.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
not, it's not the
gatekeepers.
band. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
true.
But
And
it's
that's
like,
been forever
that's
in the
tough.
metal scene,
Yeah.
and it used to be more.
Yeah.
I think the difference is now, like, it's been forever in the metal scene because, like, we would always. I remember when I was first going to shows, 25 years ago, getting crap from, if I wasn't as into the underground something from Sweden as
You're not true.
Yeah, you're not true, and you've got to, and then I went down that route for a long time, a very, very like true, and like, you're not as true as me, and then I came full circle and lost all that. But the point is that, when we've had that all the time, but we never had a place for all this public commentary where people could comment on your albums.
Right.
Like, and people just can't listen to that. If they keep listening to that, if you listen to the comments, the reason people listen is because, you have money interests and corporate interests and a lot of these bands, especially metal bands, it's like they have to pay the bills. And I can see that in some of the older bands where I've seen them, and I can just tell they don't want to be up there anymore. Like they're not even putting,
Right.
but they're like, I have to do this. We have kids, I have a house, like whatever. I have to pay for the responsibility. And because they've been in the band so long, they don't have any other way to get a job. And I mean, I can relate to that, kind of having taught, it would be very difficult to switch careers or have a new resume or something, So I feel like people start catering to the fans because they're just trying to limit their odds. But the reality is that the fans are now the critics, and we
Yes.
can't listen to the critics,
Right.
or we will make garbage albums, and that's been happening a lot. And Rick Rubin pointed this out in an interview recently when he was talking about this, and he said, it's definitely happening in the movies. It's like that's why every rehash of an old idea is not that great of a movie really anymore, and like sort of the newer ideas or newer twists, as much more interesting, to the audience. The old ideas might make some safe money, but at the same time, the ones that really take off, whether it's TV or movies or things like True Detective or something that have like a cool news story to tell, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, it's interesting. And I mean, to your point, like making money, paying the bills, right?
Yeah.
So like as a musician today,
Yeah.
there was one thing I want to talk about, like the revenue streams. Like you have to have revenue streams.
Yeah.
And albums not selling. Spotify doesn't pay shit. Apple Music doesn't pay anything really for the streams, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to tour. But then the next question is, when you go on tour, how do you calculate the financials? Like, is it worthwhile? So it's kind of like a catch-22, really.
Yeah.
Like you have to tour to make money. But if you go invest in money to go on tour, like if you're going to go to Europe or European bands going to come to the US, there's so much upfront you have to pay. And some of these bands are independent. They may not have a label to support them.
Yep.
So
even if you do, I mean, like just because a label puts something in a contract doesn't mean they're going to give it to you.
No, you owe them.
I've seen that.
Yes.
I've seen, and sometimes though, even with the stuff that you owe them, I've seen, with certain vocal clients and different things over the years, like contracts that said they were going to get a certain amount of tour support, time came around tour support, and they're like, nah. Technically that's not legal, but they know that metal bands don't have any money for a lawyer. So they're going to just say no if they're like, no, we don't really have the money or we don't want to do that, and I've seen that multiple times. So I think that the issue is like nowadays, because I have some vocal clients who are extremely successful in this new climate. One of them is this guy, Daniel Graves, who's in this band called Aesthetic Perfection. And he has been a vocal student of mine, and but he has his own career, and he's kind of figured out a bunch of things. And one is no label, so they can't take any of your royalties because they might nowadays that model just doesn't work very well anymore for the label or for anyone else. It just doesn't, like, I don't even know how a label could have a profitable model now. But anyway, unless they're just like a management that's like doing everything or something like that. It's different, But And then he, instead of having a permanent band, his band is called Aesthetic Perfection, but it's essentially just him, solo albums.
Okay.
And then what he's doing is he'll just hire the musicians for that territory. So he's an American, but he lives in Austria. And so like when he comes to America, he doesn't fly anybody from over there. He's hiring American musicians to be the live band and vice versa. He usually doesn't, maybe one, but that's it. Almost nobody goes on tour with him. And he does big tours, like big arena tours, like with Till Lindemann. And,
wow.
Yeah. He's about to do another one with Till Lindemann. And so, and he's shown me and posted publicly his Spotify revenue and everything. And I mean, it's quite good. His streaming revenue is like, $40,000-$50,000 a year just off of, just from the streams, which for some people that could be a salary. Obviously that's not his whole income. That's only the streaming revenue. And so at first, me being kind of a business-minded person, I'm like, well, the ROI on streaming, even though it pays little, is quite amazing and quite good. You don't have to produce a physical product, and then it's being monetized indefinitely. A lot of the older artists that we see that have problems with the money are people who signed, like when you sign record contracts, like if I'm Peter Frampton in 1978, but I've seen, and that's as far as I can go with that statement, contracts where you would sign it and it says, and also any other new formats that might come out in the future.
They
and when
added that at the end.
Yeah, you sign it. Because in 1978 and even 1995, you can't picture streaming or MP3s or how that kind of royalty share might exist for you. And you've signed it like a lot of contracts say in perpetuity, which means like forever. I've seen contracts that say in the known universe, in case we get playing music on Mars, they want to still own your catalog and everything. I'm dead serious. So this is like when we see older folks complaining, like a lot of it's that. But I mean, it is tough because as Carlos was mentioning, we're saturated now with like a lot of musicians. There's twice as many people on the planet as there was in the 90s, like even halfway through my lifetime.
Is that true? Really?
This is true. Yes. There was 4 or 5 billion people in like 1995, and now there's like 8 or 9. So we've like doubled, so it is insane. And so like that means there's a lot more musicians, a lot more artists, a lot more, we're not, monoculture is gone. We don't all get the music from the same source anymore. So it makes it difficult for musicians. The sad part is like, it's hard. Your art itself is not the thing that unfortunately is going to be directly monetizable anymore. And if you attach yourself to that 20th century model, you will suffer. You won't make any money. But my vocal clients and people who are making the money on the 21st century model do not have labels, do everything themselves, and focus on just writing good music and not really caring what the fans think too much,
And they don't have to pay for studio time.
And they don't have to pay for studio time either because they can do it themselves.
And they could self-promote, where
they can self-promote.
20 years ago, you couldn't do that.
You couldn't do that. Even in 2009, when I was on Century Media, we were trying to do a lot of our own promotions to supplement, and it was tough. Like, I had to like find some weird routes. I was like, maybe a banner ad on Metal Sucks or something,
the old posters on telephone poles, which I still love that stuff. But
yeah. Exactly. And so like
or pay for something in Rolling Stone magazine, which would be a fortune.
Right. And it's only like a half page ad or something. Even the labels were hard pressed to do that stuff. And so the point that we see is that on the one hand, you have this world where like musicians can make a ton of money and do a great job and self-promote and reach their own niche and cater to it and have thousands of people in their micro niche. One of my students is Javaya. She was a R&B singer before she started going into rock and metal, and she has like a couple million followers, but it's not really because she had like significant albums out. I don't think it's because she has the social media following and she's a great singer. And so in her case, she doesn't really need a label. She's already got a couple million followers. She could easily, I think she has more management than labels, and I think when we're looking at that, it's like that person can make a bunch of money even if the traditional music industry wouldn't care, or like Daniel, absolutely, he never had much support from the traditional music industry, and it's the only reason he has a career now and gets to play these arena tours is because of he was able to do it himself. And we have to, but it sucks. It does suck on the other hand that, as I was saying, musicians are always pretty good at music and brilliant at that one thing. Yeah. But like now even me, like I have to basically be a full stack developer, to do all of the things that I do for my voice lessons, to like automate the stuff, to like have any of these monetizing platforms. You kind of need like full stack skills. So you need to hire somebody who has that, so you've got to create now an entire thing for yourself. Like, and I know you guys know this because it's the same kind of thing you have to do for being a YouTuber now. You've got to have a mailing list. You've got to have this. You've got to have that. You got to have merch or a Patreon. You've got it. So the thing that does suck is like musicians are typically just good at music. And I think I do see a lot of barrier of like very talented people who can't get out there, or they put out albums and they're like, nobody's listening to this and it just goes unheard. So on the one hand, you have people who don't have any business skills, which actually is probably the greater portion of musicians. There's a lot of talent that goes unheard, a lot of money that goes unmade. But then on the other hand, I have people who I know would never have a career, who maybe even started when the model was the other way against them, that are having successful careers now because they have no one to get in their way. They don't have the gatekeeper of a label or a radio station or whatever. And they actually found their fans and are making money off of it. So I think this world is great. I actually think it's a better world than before. But I think that the tough part is like you wouldn't tour anymore, to your point, unless you're making that digital presence. I think there's no point to try to financially tour.
Well, what is your opinions when, it's back in the day, a label would want you need to complete an album. Yeah. Where now you can just do single after single after single. I guess in a way that's better. Because you can still do an album.
Yeah, but then because we're consuming music and everything, it's so much faster now, right? Because there's billions of songs being released every day, right?
Yeah, so easy.
And also, like, you can record in your own home. Yeah. And you can learn how to do that proficiently and pay somebody to mix and master for you, or learn how to do yourself the whole 9 yards. Yeah. But the thing is that what Mary is saying, we do have access to it now, right? So you see YouTubers that never recorded an album and they're going on tour and they're sold out everywhere. So this is another kind of like point of view on the music industry too, because you build a following as a performer without really necessarily being a composer, right? This is something that it's other things have opened in terms of opportunity for a market, and the way that the algorithms are being tweaked right now is basically puts you in a situation where you, in any revenue, if you don't have success in all the 5 platforms, you're not going to make it. You're barely making it. Like in order for somebody to really make money on YouTube, you got to have millions of plays and sometimes billions just to make the essential money there. After all the cuts, after the algorithm blackout, and after everything, right? So, but this is what it kind of entails what the music scene nowadays is, right? Even with a label or not, the music, it's probably only like 20% of the deal. Yeah, it really is.
Unfortunately,
the other 80% of it includes entrepreneur mindset and knowledge.
Business owner,
and business background in a sense, because
and
you're
marketing,
now
business,
because you're now not selling your music. You are selling satellite products of your music, right? Because you can't sell albums anymore. So if you're going on tour, what's the major money making is merchandise. But now online as well, you see all these YouTubers, they're killing it. Every single video, they have a little ad there. You know, they're talking about a product. They're talking about something.
Sponsorships,
Sponsorship and something that leads into it. As a matter of fact, affiliated market is another thing that's been created because of this industry. So there are many other industries and sub-industries that are involved in what we do nowadays in terms of music, right? And I think that's, if you look around, all the most successful bands, they're running around the satellite vehicles and not the actual music, Ghost, for example, you mentioned. So the singer comes in as a character, right? All the other musicians, we never know if they're 15 different people.
Yeah.
It might be only him traveling to each city, and each city has the band that it's already on the top of it.
Yeah.
They're already paying, enough. So that creates the whole experience. So that was a very smart way to do business there. So today, if you are an artist and you are in the music industry, you gotta come up with creative logistic solutions.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you cannot survive. I'll give an example here. There's several bands doing the whole all-star thing. The whole band is the same band, but then they have one guy coming in and out. Then they complete that whole entire festival with 10 bands, but with only one band.
Yeah.
So now you saved a lot of airfares, you saved a lot of visa costs, you save a lot of things. I think being smart in readapting into the new industry, I think it's the crucial if you want to survive in the music industry,
Yeah. Because I know Ripper Owens, he has, when he plays in South America, he has guys in South America.
Exactly.
And when he goes to Spain, he has guys there.
It's
So,
much more.
Because
the cost of
you
visas.
gotta outsmart that.
Yeah.
And as Shay was mentioning, for example, releasing an album today, it's a shoot on your foot. Because you're going to release the album and that is only going to be evident for a couple of weeks until somebody else move another album, and then the attention shifts, right? Yeah. But if you are in that sense, several bands started to do that too, Megadeth and many other bands that have been in the industry for so many decades started to do that. Because if you have a whole entire album, you have 10 songs there for supposedly. Yeah. And then if you are going to release that in a stretch of 10 months, you're releasing one song per month. Now you're building a whole marketing campaign for an album release, but it's for that song. And then you do that all over again. And then you do that all over again. So your momentum is going to be 10 months instead of being a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a smarter way. Definitely the most modern way to kind of adapt to how we consume music and everything.
The ex-vocalist Diane from Xandria. A few years ago, she's like, she released a solo song, so a solo project, and then she's like, my plan is to release an album in 5 years, and we're like, yay, but we had to wait 5 years. What's going on? And then she's explained, I'm going to be releasing a new single every 6 months. Twice a year for the next 5 years, and in the end, it'll all compile into the final album. So she's keeping the interest and she has new musicians. She has full videos too. So
I love her.
It's full, and she's amazing. I've been a huge fan, great, wonderful vocalist. So so that's the way she's and she hires new. All the European different some the guitars or the drums will go to a couple of the singles, but she's releasing one in a week and a half. That's I think it's number 6.
Yeah,
I think
great music.
So anyway,
that's so
but
cool.
it's kind of interesting because you just said that's the way she's doing her album.
And that's so
really
much more
smart,
creative and so much more smart, and you get the fans to follow along with a story. So there's that's a great example of people taking advantage of the new music industry, because in the past you would never get an idea like that past a label.
Right. No.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And you would relinquish a lot of your creative control. And so I think it's a better time. I think it's better. I think just the people who constantly complain, even about AI, I'm not actually. I don't think AI is bad. I think it's gonna add more saturation. I think it's like having 5 more billion more people living on the planet now, But on the other hand, there's so many people who had barriers to being able to put that single out or whatever because they can only play one thing. And I think giving people access to creating those creations is a good thing, And I think live, people still want to see musicians live. There's reasons why the player piano didn't take off. After the 1800s, it really phased out. Nobody cared about that anymore. And just to clear for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it was the old honky tonk piano with the music box scroll wheel inside of it that played itself. We've had robot musicians for decades. And that phased out. And why don't when you go to the bar at the top of Caesars and they have a piano or wherever at the top of the Fontainebleau, they're not going to push play, even though they can. It's a digital piano. They're not going to do that. The Flex is having someone. They're just going to use ambient music on the speakers if they want that. The flex of having a piano in the room is having someone play it.
Yeah.
And I think
These
that's
people
why
still enjoy that.
Yes. I think live music will always be a thing. Even if people produce music using AI, they're going to hire musicians to play it live. They're going to tour with it, you know.
And that's another thing too that we have as artists, you know, and performers is to outperform what AI did, right? Because I'll give you one example. You see
it's a challenge.
You see several musicians out there that think outside of the box. Like, give me one example here. We toured with Marty Friedman. We did dozens of shows together for a really, really long run, right?
That was Immortal Guardian, right?
Yes, with Immortal Guardian. Yeah. And then when you see Marty performing and he's throwing those chromatisms in spots, you know, he playing sometimes notes that are not really in that specific scale.
Yeah.
But the way that he bends it in the way that he applies it in certain spots, you know, and whatnot, it becomes into, you know, he plays in Oriental scale some parts and some things that are very, you know, eccentric. Well, for when you hear Marty Friedman plays, it sounds just like him, right? If I load up everything that Marty Friedman's ever played as a guitar player and make the best AI, and then throw a song there, make an instrumental song like Marty Friedman for me, he's never going to be able to represent that because the AI will follow scales, you'll follow regular divisions.
Yep.
Which Marty also, he delays the delivery of that note, and that's what makes it so dramatic. Yeah. He just delays that bend until it waits to that moment to hit that. So all those little things imply and represent that interpretation, right? Yeah. So this are the things that I think AI is just coming in to highlight even more. Yep. Because it's going to come to a point that whenever somebody does something AI, everybody's going to know already that's AI.
Yeah.
And they're going to,
kind of like the hard auto tune, you can tell. You know? And I think also too, the thing I've noticed, I use a lot of AI all the time. I haven't made any music with it yet, but like even when I'm doing like technical things or like that I need to like ask it something, you know, to me, it just feels like a very smart intern, an intern who doesn't make as much mistakes and who's very smart. But it's not like it would be the same thing as like having an intern level music production. Like it's going to give me some things that I say, but I have to still do a lot to it to make it like a Typo Negative quality song or even a Fear Factory quality song or Halloween quality song. It's not going to spit it out in that exact quality. Like you're going to have to do a lot to it.
Yeah, and it validates.
Even Rick Beato, it takes him like a lot of prompts to get it to be the thing that he's trying to get. So, and it has to come from a person who's very musically minded to understand what that quality is. That's what the artist, and as we were saying, the fan who could also prompt the AI doesn't have that real understanding of why the good music is good.
They know everything.
They think they do, but they're never going to be able to get it to come out. So like it doesn't matter to me. Technology doesn't matter. Like make good stuff that offers real value to people. It doesn't really matter how you made it, as long as it's good. If it's really good, it will always rise to the top, you know, but it doesn't seem to matter too much. I mean, people will still want the humans live. I mean, even the hologram artists didn't really go over that well. Like hologram tours.
Yeah, that never made it. I mean, it was supposed to be a threat to all of us like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like with the hologram. When all the big, like when Michael Jackson
passed
away. When Prince passed away.
And
yes.
Didn't they have like a little bit of a Freddie Mercury one? And
I
then
think so.
Whitney
Houston one in Vegas that fizzled out quick.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad.
But Dio is like this big.
I know, and it's like so. On the other hand, we have a very successful fake hologram artist, Hatsune Miku, in Japan. This is like a hologram artist that has been famous for a long time over there. But like the interesting thing about Hatsune Miku is like it's a cartoon character, so it doesn't doesn't have the uncanny valley thing of like seeing a hologram person who's now dead. But and also she has a live band, and I even think a live vocalist behind the curtain. It's a bit of a Wizard of Oz. They're live players behind the curtain during that show, and the audience is aware of that. So even though you don't see them during the show, I mean, that's actually how they used to do things before there were tracks. Madonna had musicians backstage, and Prince had musicians backstage. There's how a lot of pop artists did it before there were tracks, and many still do, you know. But the point is that we've seen a lot of this, and humans. Still, first of all, humans will always need something to do. We just need stuff to do. Even if the world becomes totally sustainable like Star Trek and we run out of money, if you watch 90s Star Trek, you see like they needed something to do in their free time. They still had shit to do. Picard still had to learn how to play little flute in his free time because he had nothing else to do. You know, they have AI, they have the computers. So humans will always need to do stuff, I think. And we'll always want to see other humans doing stuff, you know? So even though we're going to integrate it and it makes our jobs easier to use AI, I'm not afraid of AI at all.
I use it every single day. I save hours and hours and hours every week.
Me too.
Using AI.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole technological singularity, right? It's the theory behind is when, you know, our sciences are going to evolve to a point where the exponential growth, it's going to come from this to that, right? So it's like one day we have like like dark ages, and very next day you have a high-tech jet kind of level of jump in technology. And all the technologies are going to merge into this same central neural technology, whatever you want to call it. Then robots are going to be producing food for us, and then all of a sudden we don't right then all of a sudden we don't need to actually work for money anymore, so money doesn't really have this value anymore. So right, so this is the theory behind it. Right now, what are we going to be doing in terms of what's going to be the growth of, right, since we don't rely on that technology anymore because we're have that already growing in such a speed that you wouldn't be able to fit a portfolio in a university, because by the time that you're 4 years studying that, it's already way behind. So we're almost getting to that point, right? So the theory behind it is that then we wouldn't need to have jobs to buy food anymore because food is available for everyone. But then at the same time, what are the things that we're going to be evolving into? That's going to be philosophy, music, all arts. You know, like the way that we interact with each other, our human interactions. And so all these things are the things that should be evolving when we get to that point. Right? Because greed is not going to be really a reason to be greedy anymore, you know, because you have everything, in theory, accessible for you. So we start evolving in a sense that you're going to start understanding other cultures, getting involved in evolving as a human being. And music is an essential part of that, you know? And all the arts, culture, you know, in general, they're very essential for us in terms of evolution, right? But then you hit a wall when you see some people that you think that they just came out of a portal from the actual dark ages. Right, where their conception of or the way they understand reality or understand other human beings, and from there on, you feel like there's a lack of development, right? So we're gonna get to that point where the difference between here and here is just gonna go skyrocket. It's like where some, you know, but we're going to go through that phase, and I think we're going through those changes, and I think music is kind of throwing that out there in a little bit, and I can see a little bit already, you know, the way that we develop music, the way that because, for example, we're talking about that how AI can represent what a musician can actually play, right? If it becomes this packaged thing that it's pasteurized into the same exact thing, then if you are an actual musician, they're putting your work into your instrument or your voice, and you're going to come out there doing something that the AI can't even do. That's how you're going to be highlighted throughout the crowds. And I think this evolution that we're in right now, and revolution as well, in the music and with us as communities, as peoples around the world. I think that we're getting to a point where this development of us and our music and our arts, we're going to hit levels and styles and things that we haven't seen yet. This is my feeling. I think for the next, I would say 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot of stuff go down in the world where we're going to learn different things. We're going to readapt. And this is, I think it's going to be in a sense good for us. You know, you see in every war, we found other things and we learned from it.
If you're not doing your art or developing music or something, since we're on this subject, if you're not going to do that for money, and you shouldn't do it for money, you should do it for the art of it, just the passion.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to, no matter what, make any money from it, like where it doesn't exist because you're not going to do it singing. Back in the day, she used to sing for her dinner every night. You know, is it going to revert back to that? Because that's not cool either. But like if it's unlimited food for everybody or unlimited, then it's like I guess in a perfect world that would be would be. But then I guess you would only have to create your art for just the passion of it, because you're not. What would be the reward?
The people coming to your shows. The people coming to your shows.
Yes, it's just when music first started in our primitive societies, it was used for religious rite, right? Or for a ritual
or
that
for
they were
entertainment.
doing. For entertainment. Then that's how it all started. I think we're gonna reverse the 180 back to it.
And if you didn't have to worry about paying your bills or your
even transportation,
because it was already common. That would be one less thing to have to worry about.
Right? Imagine, okay, Maiden is gonna play in Los Angeles. We all have our cars that can run out of water. It's very, very cheap. Nobody's going to have really a very cost any or almost to nothing to go there. And now all of a sudden we don't need to buy anything anymore. So then
they'll probably
that
still
show's
have like
going to be packed.
A first come, first serve way of filling the venue or something.
Yeah, because now they sell out in 10 minutes.
Exactly. But I mean, but what you're talking about, the inevitable technological singularity that is coming, and it might end up in total sustainability. And the whole point of mentioning that is that, that means, as you very aptly nailed on, is what's the meaning of doing music? What's the meaning of being alive? When we live in America and it's just money, but we have to remember, like Carlos said, there was a society before money and there's a society after money. We were making music in both times, and I guess that really breaks it down. After money, what do we have left? We have music, we have arts, we have science, we have humanities, we have inventions, and all those things can exist independently. And in the future, a highly ordered technological future, that's probably what we'll be focusing on more.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be around in 50 years, but I would love to see what's going to be like.
Well, we might be though. Hold on, we might get some chips
because we're living longer.
Give me some chips.
Well, okay, so that's
give me the nanobots.
Yeah, that's right.
But what about all the rest of society that aren't artists? They're mainly driven by financial gain.
I don't know.
So that they will make sure that never stops, because at least 50% of the entire planet is like that.
No, and this is such a good point. Will the powers that be allow the technology to evolve? This will be something we'll see. Yeah. We may not be alive for it.
We might.
I hope so.
But to Carlos's point, overall, the point is that musicians do have a role in the future.
Yeah.
Because the corporations are still going to want the money from you guys.
That's a really good point.
They're the ones that, if they're still in power, they're the ones that will
determine it. Yeah.
But your
like the Spotify CEO
is a great idea, but
exactly, it's such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing, because on the one hand, I'm so pro. I was very pro streaming services, and I still kind of am, because I feel like, again, it's an ROI. It's like, man, you don't have to print a product and pay for that product and take that out of the profit margin every time.
Right.
And I love the fact that I can subscribe and listen to a bunch of artists. But on the other hand, obviously things are debatable over there. So there's some structural issues, so it's like
God,
a double-edged sword.
Yeah, thank God Lars Ulrich fought Napster back in the day. I mean, we would not be where we are.
Yeah, that's true.
He may have a toilet, but he has done some things. Remember the Lars toilet that was all over the internet? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God! Somebody made a Lars Ulrich toilet out of ceramic, and it was like viral all over the internet. And you guys will probably find a picture of it after this, but it's like the whole guy, and the front of it, like right here, is the toilet. It's crazy.
See it in his lab.
I'll have to see that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's a good point too, because I think we're going to get to that, sooner or later we will see how that evolves.
Yeah,
right?
We'll see.
But I believe that the people are going to, I don't know. I think if it's relying on the metal community, I think they will reach independence.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because the metal people, I mean, in general nowadays, I mean, some shows, they can barely sell any tickets. But the big shows, the famous artists or the big artists, it's impossible to get a ticket. I mean, we wanted to see Lady Gaga.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we had to pay like almost $1,000 to even get in.
But we had to wait for the day of the day before the show because when the tickets went on sale, even that was impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you choose 2 tickets, they're gone. I mean, it was just, and everybody was complaining about it. But it happens to other artists too. But it was just
big
our
artists,
experience.
But the thing I think about metal is, though, I think we do still see plenty of ticket sales on the more relevant artists, And I think I just don't feel like I feel like I see all the festivals. I think people are doing well in those,
Yeah.
I think one thing with the industry being super accessible is we hear a lot of complaints and a lot of reflection from a lot of musicians that aren't putting out very good work and aren't making very good music. And because they have access, then they have this incorrect reflection that it's the platform and the system. Well, Spotify, I have 1,000 streams on Spotify and I should have this much money. It's like, well, no, that's not actually worth very much money, but they just see like a number like that, and they think, and like the worst thing is just watching 20th century music movies, and I mean, it blows my mind. I like watching the Wham documentary or something, how big a band got in like 4 years, then they break up. I mean, even the Beatles, it's like a 5-year period. It's not that long, and it's massive fame in instant results and all this stuff. And so it's like, you can't watch these 20th century music movies and then expect the same thing. And then the hardest thing I think for an artist to admit is like, maybe my art is not that good. Maybe it's not on the Spotify playlist because it's not really very good, or some of the business questions they're not asking themselves. Did I even pitch it to a Spotify playlist? If I didn't, how do I even know how to do that? So I hear a lot of complaints, but I don't hear any complaining from the people I know who are actually doing well. They're doing very well, and they're loving this time period, and a lot of it just has to do with whether their music is good.
Some of these artists are in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the older, it's a lot of older guys, and I hate to say it, but it's a lot of older people who just, and it's unfortunate, And I mean, me being 43, it's like, I also lecture some of those people, and I'm like, come on, I'm the same age you are, or I'm not that much younger than you, and you gotta adapt. I grew up in the same time, so you're not gonna pull any punches with me, and give me an excuse about why you're bad at technology or why you can't understand this thing, because I'm over here understanding it in the same age group, you know what I mean?
Right.
So as I've gotten older, I give more of my peers more of a hard time about that because I'm not having any trouble. So I'm like, but I do feel sorry for them because it does happen to people who were a little bit older, and if you had a bunch of massive success and you didn't have to learn all of those things, and now you're 65 years old, and now the world is asking you to readapt to that. I mean, that may be impossible. You may have to hire a manager or somebody younger, but you're definitely not going to break through. You can't put out an album and expect to break through in a traditional way. You will have complaints. It will seem terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem with the older guys, so to speak, that they feel entitled.
Yeah.
That they should have limos waiting at the airport.
Absolutely.
When they come to play in front of 150 people.
Yeah, because
Yes,
that's what they
yes.
had. And I mean, if that was your
That's what they had
first.
in the 80s,
Yeah,
so they
that's what
think
they had. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you mean, it's what I feel bad, but.
But even think of an example would be I don't know this for a fact. I read it, but in an interview that 1987 Whitesnake released the album 1987,
Okay.
which was a huge success. They sold millions of records.
Yeah.
Then they toured on the album for 2 years.
Yeah.
When they came back, David Coverdale, he owed the label $2 million.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, how is that even possible? But then I started thinking about it. Like, he probably had private jets.
Yeah.
They flew, you know.
The way you budget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And no business mind potentially.
A musician
Yeah.
is not business minded.
Yeah, and probably had a whole crew of people, wives and girlfriends, and you know all that. I don't know if that's a fact, but I'm just guessing. Like, how can you have a successful tour, or you were fucked with the contract?
You're just
Right.
fucked with the
Or they're
contract.
like, oh, the label's taking care of everything.
Yeah.
But really, the label's they're getting paid by you out of their cut.
On the
Yeah,
recuperables.
and
Yeah.
writing down the recuperables, because the recuperables aren't part of their cut necessarily. They usually get a cut on top of the recuperables.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So a lot of times, like only some of the formats, well, at least nowadays, so there's more formats. You know, we'll go to the recuperable. You know, and so it's like a whole deal. You know, and this happened with TLC too. They were very open about it in their documentaries. They lost a lot of money when they got hosed by the record labels. So, and the other thing that people forget about record labels as they're like remembering things and trying to glorify things is that one of the worst things about record labels, and it still happens to this day if you sign with them, is they can sign you for like 10 years and then shelve everything you make. Some
Yeah.
labels back in the day, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so,
And you can't release anything.
No.
else. So people are like, why aren't you doing it? It's been a decade. You haven't. Their hands are tied.
their hands are tied.
Yeah.
You nailed
Yeah.
it. And it's because they, you know, a lot of times when you sign a record contract, why do you see like appears courtesy of Columbia Records or whatever? That's because it's pretty standard, even in small metal label contracts, to have to ask permission of the label. Like they own everything you do. So it'll say like appears courtesy of Napalm Records or whatever. You know, when the person is a guest vocalist, they had to still clear that with their A&R. They don't just get to be the guest vocalist on the other label, on the other album. And that has been the case for decades. And so like, it's not as common, but back in the more, you know, when we're glorifying the 20th century music model, you have to remember that there's a number of artists who got shelved just to keep them from being competitors, just to sign them, or maybe some guy just had a beef with them. But I mean, it happened a lot. And so, you know, nowadays, this is part of why I look at the bigger picture and think it's better for people nowadays, just because like you can't have those things happen. You know,
Yeah.
if you're your own artist and you didn't sign with somebody, you can't, you know, it's not ever going to happen to you. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also you have the opportunity to become a 1001 utility kind of man, right?
Yeah.
You can specialize yourself to a
Yeah.
certain level where you're decent on everything today
Yeah.
if you'd like. It's a lot of time that you're going to invest in learning and perfecting new things and whatnot. And you find that the things that you can actually do to a professional level, if you can already deliver it half chopped to the next person, then you're saving money right there. So this is this is the reason being you have these amazing bands since the 80s. You have these amazing bands, man.
Yeah.
And they were professional. They didn't lack on that musicianship and personal level as a band, but they did not have the entrepreneur mindset as Steve Harris did. Or
Yeah.
Rod Smallwood, you know? So like
yeah.
these
Or
guys,
even Richie Blackmore.
exactly.
You know?
So these guys had a business vision, or if they actually found teammates that could accomplish that for them with whatever they were lacking, right? Now you see that in every single band throughout this period of time.
Right.
You see the bands like Priest, like Maiden, and then you see a bunch of other bands. Man, but what happened to this band? This band was amazing. And sometimes it's not
Yeah.
really a sad story in terms of addiction or anything
Yeah.
like that, but it is really 100% relying on their entrepreneurship.
And speaking of that, a good example of a good one in terms of business, Zoltan from Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh yeah, Zoltan,
Yeah.
genius business person.
God,
Yeah.
he is, immigrant from was it Romania or something, Hungary?
I think Bulgaria.
Bulgaria, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Like,
And now he's a great, like a jiu-jitsu legend and married into the Gracie family, like
Right.
crazy, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
It's insane.
That shows the guy's drive, right?
Yeah.
And work ethic.
Yeah, work ethic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Right, because a
important,
lot of
man.
people can dog on Five Finger and say, oh, maybe they just got big because of blah, blah, blah. But like a lot of those guys were in other bands before that didn't blow up like that. Like Motogrator, which was Ivan's band before that,
right.
I mean, they were somewhat successful, but not like huge, not like Five Finger Death Punch, which is massive. And like you said, you got a business entrepreneur in there, somebody who had the right mindset. I mean, it's clearly Zoltan is the mind behind the band because you can see that him and Ivan are the main people who've stayed the whole time, and it just goes to show that it makes a huge difference. I mean, if Ozzy didn't have Sharon, to be the business mind, because even if the musician itself can't be the business mind, we know there's been legendary managers. So this is a really good point that you bring up that it doesn't matter whether we're now or even back then, your business mind we just maybe don't hear about it from back then as much as until we see the documentary.
Right.
But
yeah.
that was refreshing in the Dio documentary. Not poor Dio, but to see that a couple times in his career he had like a major down slump, and after Rainbow, before Black Sabbath, and then of course in the 90s when the grunge came in. So people glorifying the past, it doesn't mean that everything would have gone well for you. And those of us that were there for part of it, that can bridge both sides of this, we got to keep reminding people of that. The movies only show you the good part.
Yeah, and today, I mean, it's still, now I know more about the business, but just 15 years ago, I thought like all these musicians, they were millionaires.
Yeah.
And a lot of people feel that way, or they thought that way.
They think that.
Right.
Yeah, and still today, I think people think that, no, that guy, like, he's touring every year, like luxurious life, and everything is just handed to him or her.
They assume they all live in mansions. Well,
Right, yeah, big
little condos.
big mansions,
or whatever. Yeah,
but in reality, it's just maybe, paying, living month to month, really, essentially.
Yeah.
There's very few Zoltan Bathories.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, really, he's quite. I mean, if you've got that business mindset and you make good music, it has to be both.
Yeah.
And multiple skills, because that goes with anybody. If you're not an artist, the more skills you have, the better chances you are. I mean, just stop relying on just one thing. Yeah, you might need to focus on that one thing that might catapult you.
Yes.
But have backup, have other skills that you can do.
Exactly. Yeah. You see also in a nowadays standpoint, because we don't rely on labels actually to make things happen, just simply because they on itself they have shrink their power, because they don't have a radio station now that they can put their money in.
Yeah.
Now there's so many other channels, right?
Yeah.
And so many other things. So like your initial $1 million now is spreading into $10 revenue for all these things, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same push. But at the same time, things that people forget nowadays is one aspect that we were just talking about the other day.
Yeah.
When the industry today is reflecting on the public looking at a famous person, they're not looking at the favorite artist as per se as it was back in the day, right? Because obviously because of the number of options that we have around. So when a person sees, this guy has, let's suppose, 1 million followers, I'm gonna follow this guy.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the mindset nowadays.
Is true,
It doesn't really matter if he's the best guitar player in the world. If he has 1 million, then so what is it required? Obviously, you got to have at least a decent music or art that you're selling through your channel, but also is the initial investment and how you do it and how you package that through your marketing, either agents or what you learn through marketing, So like all these things play a huge factor nowadays, and back in the day it wasn't really that big of a deal because let the label do it, and then we'll pay through recuperables,
And that was
whatever
it, yeah.
sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't, we just have a debt for the rest of our lives.
And yeah, there were some financial disasters too in the like Pretty Boy Floyd is one of those stories where they think they have the they're like legendary for having a disaster because they came out right when the grunge era was flipped, and it only took like a year for the whole world to just like turn upside down.
Late 80s or early 90s.
Because it's weird because there's a really weird like time. I love the late 80s, early 90s because there's a lot of overlap. And, and
it was still happening, but people were like, "What the fuck?" Is going on?
Yes, because you have bands from like 89 to 93 where like in 1990 you have albums coming out like Facelift by Alice in Chains, but then you also have bands like Firehouse dropping singles, you know? It's just a weird time, you know? And in that time, the labels, took some chances still signing some of the hair metal, and they signed Pretty Boy Floyd, gave them an astronomical budget, like one of the record biggest budgets ever, and then it went nowhere. It completely catapulted. It just like disappeared because they made no money, and every once in a while Pretty Boy Floyd comes up, plays Vamped, and we would all go see that.
Right,
But their legacy is being the biggest flop from that era, unfortunately.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they had a big financial problem because unfortunately they had that timing, where the label was going to put a huge amount of money into this hair metal, like an astronomical amount of money, and then it rapidly flipped
overnight,
to grunge. Overnight flipped to grunge, and they lost all the money. So, I mean, that's one of those stories. So it's like we can go back in the day, but we have to look at the brilliant business people of now, and also to Carlos's point, learning what leverage makes you that money, what about you is making you the money. Because I think of people like Alex Terrible, who I think is a pretty great business person as well. Even if he's not, he has a manager, and they're a brilliant business person, and they knew how to take his mask, take his, he was just a guy when I first saw him, he was a kid, he was a lot younger and skinnier, and he was a kid doing covers in his room in Russia.
Oh, really?
On YouTube. Yeah, that's what he started. He just started doing And I remember seeing him years ago, like on YouTube, early when I started my channel. People would be like, have you seen this kid, Alex Terrible? And he was just like a cover. He was just a cover kid. And Russians have no money. They, rubles are worthless,
Yeah.
And so he's sitting over there, and he got all of his opportunity. This is why I think it's this person would have zero opportunity in the 20th century, and he just was online, had an extraordinary talent for, his vocals are deeper than everybody's. And so then he starts
like an alligator.
And that's just a natural talent. So he had talent,
Yeah.
and then that got him views on YouTube. That's a good point. It's like your talent will get you the views. And then after that, he came up with a cool mask to wear, and then was able to come up with a brand, and there we go. And now we have a big artist who tours, and the music isn't even that amazing. People are just, the songs are but people are
it's more like the imagery
the
or
imagery,
just his personality.
they want to
product,
hear him go out on stage and do his shtick where he does a growl without the mic for a second. He does that every show just to show everybody he can do it. And he goes out there and does it with his shirt off, and people are there just to see
smashes the microphone.
Yeah, he smashes it. He starts bleeding.
Couldn't get more metal than that.
So it's but it's all business. He had a whole factory. He has a whole factory in Russia that makes the masks.
Oh, really? Okay.
He turned it into a business, and that came from being a more business-minded musician. He certainly had a lot of talent. He was very young when he started. It was his talent that did it, but.
And growing up there, he had desperation.
Absolute desperation.
Yes.
You've got to work your ass off. He also had to learn English. He did not know any English.
Okay.
And only very recently has he. And I can't imagine learning the Cyrillic alphabet.
When you're a kid, yes, it's easier, they always say. But when what's the age when you're a lot older, just
past your teen years, it's a lot harder.
Yeah. I could never do it. Now I can't even remember the English language.
I know. That's why I'm he had to learn a whole new alphabet. It's not even in the same alphabet.
Right.
No.
And a new language, And so, I mean, this is a good example of another, probably business-minded kind of musician where you have to find out, okay, he figured out, okay, I'm going to make this mask, and this is going to be a thing between me and my audience, and that's my thing,
But again, it's a satellite thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of
around the music.
Sultan is the same kind of I want to get out of here. This miserable
Eastern
country.
Bloc,
Yeah, Eastern Bloc, communism and all that.
Terrible, yeah.
So, I mean, it's inspiring in a way. Like,
right, these people came from nothing. And so when I see American musicians complain who have,
that's true,
quote unquote, all the privilege in the world, and we have everything that we would need. We didn't have to grow up in Bulgaria or the slums of, Russia, Vladivostok or something.
Or Ginger
or Ginger from Ukraine. Look
Yeah.
at these bands that are successful.
history.
I don't want to hear anybody. I don't want to hear any Americans complaining. I don't want to hear any British people complaining. I don't want to hear Americans complaining.
Right.
I don't want to hear Canadians
Any
complaining.
Westerns, yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you think about, like, when it comes to investments? So, like, you guys have been offered to go on tour with bigger bands, and you have to pay to
buy
Pay to
on.
play.
Yeah, buy on. Yeah,
Yeah.
And also the concept of, like, paying to play at the whiskey, playing for exposure. What's your take on that? I mean, I
There's
read
still too much of that.
I read an article on Metal Sludge about this. Actually, the guy from Tough who is running Metal Sludge.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did all these things for free. They paid for my trip. I played a few gigs, and it built up a friendship. And they have invited me back year after year, and I've made X amount of money doing that. But that is an exception, probably. But what is your, like, overall take on this whole concept of?
Yeah, we've talked about that too. Like, you see lots of bands there, he happens to have a bunch of talented rich kids there, and the band takes off, for a while and whatnot. But if your music is not as per se consistent as it is your investment, that's gonna just be a time that you're gonna
It'll
just be
catch up with
spending
you.
money,
It
right?
does.
Everything
It does.
catches
So
up.
there's a lot involved. It's just money only wouldn't make or break it either.
Right.
But the thing about
that's the
like
thing, too.
my take about the buy-ons is this. This has existed for all decades. It's a big artist that picks up a small artist, and then all of a sudden I just saw Cavalier Conspiracy the other day. They were doing a Chaos AD tour, and then so Fear Factory come in as a support for them on the run, right? So then Dino was saying that, yeah, man, so when we first started, Sepultura picked us up, Max picked us up, and he helped us out as us being openers and whatnot, and look at where we are today, but we owe a lot to these guys and this and that. You still see that, For example, we toured with Marty Friedman. At the time, Marty is actually like went out of his way to have us getting paid every day to include on the package of his tour. So this is how much my show costs, because this much here got to pay to the guys here from Immortal Guardian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people out there that they do have the conscious of being a guy that it's fomenting the scene and not exploiting the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the not only on the management hands, but also for every artist that it's out there, I think if they would think on the point of view of the scene is more important than your band, we would have a lot stronger scene.
Yeah. And I think to your points there, like as far as pay to play goes, is I think it's so there's a couple different views, but one view that I have is pay to play at a venue like the whiskey. That's lame. That shouldn't exist. And I appreciate the whiskey for holding it down over there on the Sunset Strip, for like being one of the last venues in LA.
Right.
But the problem with that is like the reason is like they don't have, how Vamped always had like a regular crowd of people coming in because they would actually curate good shows and good events, right? And there's no pay to play, and it makes for a much better curation of the lineup. The whiskey now, anytime you go see there, it is just 7 random bands that don't have anything to do with each other, and sometimes they're paying to open up for like us, on when the tour stop comes through, and I'm like, they paid, like $700 to open up for, a metal band that's like mid-tier, and I'm not dogging on anything we've done. I'm just saying that is not worth it. That's financially like ridiculous, or even $300, $200. That's stupid because there's nobody to come see them on those earlier slots. So and my thing is like, if the whiskey, I know it's a small venue, it's limited on capacity, but if they're not making enough money as a profitable business that they need to charge, like, it should be easy. Artists don't cost very much money. The artists cost less than marketing. Artists cost less than like everything you do in a business costs less than the bands that come in there. Your taxes, everything. Your licensing, your everything. Your staff. So I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. That is just a terrible business model. If that your business model depends on like $300 from every band to come in, then you're booking bands that aren't drawing. You're not selling tickets. You're not advertising. You're not, what the hell is wrong with you? So I've always thought pay to play at a venue is just lazy marketing, and go ahead and yell at me, all you venue owners, but it's absolutely lazy. You need to take a business course. If I brought that up in a business course in college, they would laugh me out of the room. You know what I mean? They'd be like, well, why aren't you making money as a profitable, how many bars and restaurants exist without any entertainment? Thousands, millions, the majority of them. So
why are they getting away with it then? For so long.
They get away with it because artists feel like they have to, because they're not, or like in the case of the whiskey, they're getting away with it because they have a monopoly.
Yeah, and people have a dream to play at the whiskey.
And they have a name.
That's the problem in my opinion too, because
They have a name.
when you get to a point where the venue's name is bigger than the artists that are performing there, that's a big problem.
That's a big problem. You should be making money. The venue shouldn't be bigger than the people you're booking, know? I mean, and they should be able to pack the house and make a profitable thing. And I look at the whiskey and I'm like, what are they even doing? Like, it's almost like wasted space. If you only have like one artist in the night that everyone cares about, and you just have like 10 artists that just paid to do, I don't know, whatever. And, like that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't curate, a customer base. It doesn't help you like bring in so that I think is a stupid business model, and I felt that for 25 years. I've seen it on every level. That's one thing I really like about getting older is like, well, now I have a sample data of 25 years of watching this experiment.
I've benchmarked,
and that doesn't work. So we've learned that doesn't work. And then the last thing I would say about that is it's trickier when you're talking about tour buy-ons, because sometimes the tour buy-on is like at least when it comes to like smaller metal bands. Okay, so say you have like a Visions of Atlantis sized band or a Sonata Arctica sized band come over here. They're not super well known in the States, maybe well known enough to headline the tour. Sometimes those type of sized artists will charge an opening band like $15,000 ahead of time because they're going to share the tour bus with them or whatever to pay for that.
Because someone's going to pay.
And so they're like concerned that they may not make the money back at the end. But I would still say, if you're going into a market and you can't cover the entire tour bus costs, and it is dependent upon an artist splitting it with you, that's a sketchy market.
Because if that was just icing on the cake, okay, great. Then that's your profit.
Right.
But you're like saying if it's depending on
it's usually dependent upon it. It's usually almost every artist that needs a buy-on for an opener is asking for it because they need the upfront guarantee to support the tour. So to me, it's a red flag. It's a huge red flag. And honestly, I've known so many artists who bought on, and like Carlos said, a lot of times they don't go anywhere. It doesn't really do anything for them because people stand in there and they just go, okay, this is an unknown band. It's the same kind of thing. It's not curated to the fans. It's whoever will pay, and maybe it's semi-genre related. But I mean, I kind of felt that way about the opener they had for the Bruce Dickinson tour. It seemed like that kind of situation, and I could see why Bruce Dickinson as a solo artist in the United States might want something to secure the finances, and that would be his management, not him, or the tour manager. It has nothing to do with the artists usually. And they had a very unknown band band with like very few Spotify listeners opening for them. So I was guessing, and I can't say for sure, and apologize. You guys were a great band. You were wonderful. But the whole audience was sitting there kind of looking at each other. I even had industry friends come up to me. Do you know that band had like 400 Spotify listeners? Like, what were they even doing here? Like, I heard a lot of that. And they were quite good. I mean, I actually heard people say like they played well. So it wasn't that, but nobody was like suddenly into them because of that, you know? And they probably spent a lot of money buying onto that. And I'm appreciative that maybe it helped an artist like that tour. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't know. If that's the market you're facing, you got to do some rebudgeting then. You know, I think this is a poor model. Yeah.
And again, it comes down to the public on that side looking at, if you are famous, you went through the quality control already, so I can like you, I can follow you, I can listen to you. But if not, so this is kind of like the mistake that I think the general public kind of embraces. But on the other hand, also is, if you're going on a tour, right, and you are thinking of going on a buy-on, honestly, every business has an investment. So if you are looking into expanding bigger crowds, you know, there's my poetic side of my artist that would say, yeah, screw the buy-ons. But at the same time, you know, I see that for several artists that they have an amazing musicianship and a group on itself, and they do have the money to invest to start with a bigger step. And if they are doing a tour, you know, this I'm totally bluntly looking into the cold aspect of a business standpoint, right? So this is not my artist speaking here. So if you sit down outside of the box and you see that you're going to be exposed to these many tens of thousands of people, and you have a budget to put in a product that will generate you the revenue or maybe double it, because the last few tours that, you know, we did were modestly very, very successful in that aspect, because we got the logistics down to the minimum possible, right? But like when I was hanging out with Iron Maiden many years ago, when they played at the Woodlands Pavilion over there in Houston, Texas, I got to hang out with Maiden there backstage. And when I was looking into the stage being set up, they had this huge 2 tractors over there. They were moving the Addy, you know, big, huge structure and everything. And I'm just looking, everything being set up. And I'm like, oh my God, of how much it involves, right? And then all of a sudden I see this guy right by me, and I look, and it's Steve Harris there. And I remember one of the things that we spoke about it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, man. This production is, it's just mind blowing. And then he looked at me and was like, yeah, man, many years of sleeping in a van and eating a sandwich a day to get to this point, you know?
Yeah.
And then that resonated to me, you know, like some people do not want to pay the price. Some people do not want to have the persistence that it takes. Some people don't want to sacrifice what it needs to be sacrificed, you know? So, like, there's so many things there involved.
It's kind of a double-edged sword. Yeah, it could work.
So many things.
It could work for the right budget.
You know, exactly. So, like, is it a right thing to do or a wrong thing to do on the buy-on? On my artist standpoint here is screw the buy-on, man, you know? But, like, for how long can you survive as an independent artist eating a sandwich a day and
hard.
Sleeping in a van?
Yeah.
You know, for how long can you take it? Can you take it for 30 years? You might turn into Black Flag. They did that for so many years. They were like the most, like, highest, busiest touring band for a long time. They made a standpoint, man. Like, they conquered the respect in the scene, you know? You see so many shirts, Black Flag shirts, you know? Tats, you know? People tat it up. But what is the actual, what do you want to achieve?
Yeah,
because that's exactly what we were talking about. Are you doing for the fame? Are you doing for the money? Are you doing to show, yeah, I'm cool? Go ahead, but I want to see.
Are you doing it just to have an experience? Like, if you just want a personal experience and you buy on the tour, like, and you're like, oh, I got to do this cool thing, cool, you know? But like, I do feel like even when I've seen people who were talented that did the buy-on thing, I just feel like it doesn't work very well, because I always feel like it's a mismatch, you know?
And also,
it doesn't appeal to that fan base. It's like, I don't know, they haven't like worked with the fans, so it's very hard to
maybe it could even do it, but how long can you sustain an not sustainable business?
Yeah.
Because you're investing.
Keep buy on every tour.
The hopes.
Yeah, how many times?
With the hopes that, any other business model, you have an initial investment, you have the prospect of the unlucky, you have the prospect of medium profit, and you have a prospect there for if you were very successful, what's the ceiling you can hit here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have that in front of you and it makes sense, okay, so if I invest this for 10 years, it's going to be $1 million here, which is not a lot in the music industry if you think about this today.
Yeah.
Okay. If you invest a whole year, $100,000 in marketing, it might not make it for you in the marketing push that you need for your style or for your fan base.
Yeah.
But let's suppose that it does. I think in metal, it would be kind of like a reasonable, initial investment as per se. But let's suppose that you stretch that in 10 years. If you're smart about it, you're going to be doubling your money every time you come home. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you this. If you don't want to go in the limos and don't want to sleep in a hotel every night, there are other ways to do it. There are ways to outsmart. Even if you need to split a bus with 3 other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 3 other bands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You'll find a way to do it, or a bandwagon, or however it is. So you find that out.
Yeah.
But if those numbers don't translate to the turnout, for how long can you sustain that?
You can't sustain
Right?
it long.
So
You have to
this is-
develop an
As long
audience
as you want to,
online.
as long as you can deal with it.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
Some
you
people
know?
sacrifice just 5 years and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Some sacrifice 20 years.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
3 years ago, at the House of Blues, because we often see in this moment, we've seen them many
Yeah.
times. So the last time, I think one of the last times we've seen them 3 years ago, and they always have they're headlining, and they had a couple support acts, and most of the time they're cool, it's great. But this one band came out, I was like, who are they? I don't know, they're boring. Let's go to the bathroom. It was one of those.
Yeah.
And you know who it was?
Who?
Sleep Token.
Oh wow! And then they
So,
blew up.
yeah.
Wild,
So-
crazy.
And so you wonder, like, oh, of course they probably bought. Did they buy on through?
I don't know.
In this moment, I don't know how
Yeah.
that works. It was a label, but now I want to say they're bigger than in this moment.
Yeah,
Way bigger.
way
I mean,
bigger.
they have. There's like a cult thing. So is that luck? Is that just by chance?
I think it has
Is
to
that
do
talent?
with the.
I think it's all the above.
I think it has to do with a
Right
lot
place
of it
at the right time.
Yeah. So you know what? After being in this industry for so long, and now that I do acting stuff too, I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff is random, and I will
interesting.
stand by that, and because I've seen. I mean, I can give my opinions on what I think actually works and what I think doesn't work, when I've seen people make mistakes. But I have also, and Carlos and I talk about this a lot, seen a lot of very talented people end up not having anything happen in spite of pretty much making all the right decisions, And I've also seen completely random people just blow up, they were just sort of in the right place at the right time. I've seen people do buy shenanigans that actually did blow them up. I've seen people do buy things that didn't blow them up. Like I know of a band that will definitely remain nameless. Like a bunch of years ago when they first started, their parents were helping. And so to get them on the Billboard charts, they bought like 30,000 of their album on the day it was released. So that they could, they bought like a pallet of the album,
Wow.
so that they could chart, So, and that band is still around and very successful. So, I mean, it can work, but
It's like a gamble.
It's a gamble.
And if you can get that ball rolling,
Yeah.
then it's going to take it from there.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, persistence as well. So
Yeah.
investments and persistence can go hand in hand as well. An example is I watched the documentary about Rammstein.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, and they were like back in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
They came to the US like year after year, or maybe twice a year, and played for like 50 people.
Yeah.
But they just kept going back, and never given up. And Sabaton is the same example as well.
Yes.
They just kept going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to break in the USA.
Yeah.
And like Rammstein now, they're playing stadiums.
Yeah, huge.
Huge.
Yeah. They're one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah.
And huge in the US. And they sing in German.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
And that's unheard of because Americans don't usually like non-English speaking
Right,
artists.
right.
Right.
And then also to your point, Parkway Drive is like that. Another good documentary is Parkway Drive documentary.
Okay,
They have their own documentary. And I watched it years ago, but they were just like kids from Australia. They kept going to Europe and they did the same thing. They would just like fly to Europe, rent a van and grind and just like drive around Europe and like hope that like something would happen,
Yeah.
and like they begged Adam D from Killswitch to produce their album. I mean, like they badgered him. They emailed him and like literally begged him. There was like he finally caved, you know. Yeah. And now they're huge. Parkway Drive is like an arena.
They're headlining festivals.
Yeah, headliner festivals, you know,
in Europe or here.
So yeah. But you know, I mean, you also got to have talent. You have to have like good music, you know. So it's a grind. It's good music. Sometimes it's random though, you know. Like I swear to God, like I've seen so many people. I've seen lots of people who were like signed the same time I was. I mean, even myself, you know. I've been signed to some of the bigger metal labels. Like nothing happened, you know. I've also been dropped, you know. So it's just like, and then other peers where I was signed, where other people are like, this band's gonna be the hot shit. Oh, I can think of like 2 right off the top of my head that didn't go anywhere. That was like the same time of like when I was signing and stuff, and I just like I've seen a lot of people come and go, you know. So some of it is random, and you can't. What I would advise musicians to do is just, if you really think you have good music to offer, then dive in and double down on that grind, or don't complain, you know, because like unfortunately you're not gonna, your talent is just, no one's gonna discover you anymore. It's not the 80s. You're not gonna be in a shopping mall and somebody's gonna be like you know, it's just not gonna happen. You're not gonna be on Star Search, you know. Even Idol, The Voice, those are all rigged programs, you know, set up for specific things and ties with labels and stuff like that. And there's a lot of influencers who talk about their experiences with that stuff now, so you can find a lot of that information. So I would just tell musicians, like, if you work on the best quality product that you can possibly do, you know,
believe in that product, or believe in yourself, whatever.
Believe in that and double down on it. And that's really all you can do, you know. And nowadays, though, the good part about that doubling down is you don't have to, if you're rejected by a bunch, I mean, how many artists have we heard that were rejected? Rush was rejected by all the labels, you know. And I mean, nowadays, an artist like that wouldn't have to wait until somebody, eventually Rush got a radio guy to start playing them. But like that was a gatekeep. Like people talk about gatekeeping, but back in the day it was much more gatekeeping. There was only a few people dealing with the talent and letting you in. And so like nowadays, just like you can get around the gatekeepers if you grind. You can have your own whole community, your own whole Patreon, your own whole platform, your own whole deal. You know, so if you believe in it, you grind on it. But some big breaks, a lot of things, and a lot of other people you see, some of them it's just random. You know, getting jealous and getting up in your chest about it. I've dealt with a lot of people, like I don't get that way, but I've had a lot of like former bandmates and stuff who like could not get off of like being in their chests and jealous about like what this guy had or what that guy had, or constantly watching like what this band had, or you know, and it's like, man, that'll kill you.
But those guys you were mentioning, I think they have also like a lot of identity to what they do. They definitely sound.
Sleep Token?
Sleep Token.
Yes.
They have masks. They have, and they wrote good music. It's not actually my flavor of music,
right?
But I see why they blow up, because compositionally they're offering something that other bands aren't offering. You know,
right?
Exactly.
So,
it does sound different, unique. Yes, definitely does. Yeah, but definitely, I think, like, if I look in the artist standpoint, independently of all the entrepreneurship and the administration part of the music, I think we did come to like a point where those guys, I'm going to tell you right now, their marketing team and the people that work with curators on Spotify and all the platforms are top notch. And I'm telling you right now, if there is no reasonable financial investment for what they're doing, I would change my name.
Yeah.
You know, and because this all, fortunately and unfortunately now, they all tie together, right?
Yep.
There are the random things, obviously, but sometimes, you know, but I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that luck is when, you know, preparation meets the opportunity.
Yep.
You know,
so it's like in the universe.
You got to be prepared for that, you know, like if you're going to go on tour right now, opening for this huge artist, are you ready for that? Are you ready to quit your job right now and hit the road and do it right now? You know, are you able to sacrifice? Are you prepared to hold 6 months in your household without, you know, nobody backing you? And are you able to do that? Because I know several, me myself, several artists that have done that several times over and over and over before you understood how you can shrink your logistic to actually bring money back home after that. Because if you don't see that happening, my personal opinion here, if you got a lot of money, you just want to burn it out and go there, have some fun, what am I going to be? Who am I going to be here to be telling you what you do with your money, right? But the thing is here, if you're not sustainable and you know you're going to starve and you know you're not going to go anywhere, might as well just step out and let some serious artists make a living. Honestly, this is just a personal opinion here. But if you really want to do it, that's your dream, and whatnot, because how much of your art really relies on people going there and clapping for you? I don't see my art being that art, honestly. Iron Maiden's never been the band of the moment.
No.
They've never been, they are so hot right now. No, they've ever been consistently Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And that's what they do there, man. They're the best in what they do, right? So they go there and AC/DC. It's never been like the band of the moment. Like I would never hope to go watch Baywatch and see some AC/DC playing over there. They might have played, they might have played some Van Halen, for example, right? Yeah. So this is another thing too. How did that tie up together? If that was a Van Halen kind of show, how did they get there? Well, it might be that they're being shot or Bon Jovi, for example. They're being shot in their local area where the producer knows the guy in the label that pitches in. And
that's what I mean about random. Sometimes it's something like that. And the amount of musicians I've heard being like, man, that guy, how'd they got this thing? And it's like, dude, they were just like in the room with that guy and they just knew that dude and they just lived in that area. One time I knew somebody that got kind of mad at me because there was a girl that I knew who was a singer in Belgium, and a band I knew from Belgium who lived like 5 minutes from her but like they had big name people in it. They were looking for a singer, and I was like, oh, yeah, you should hit up my friend, and I put her in touch, and she ended up being the singer, and it was cool. But I had random people, like not random, but people in my circle who are Americans and not anywhere near close to this. Like I mentioned the story because it's just like a fun thing, and then get all jealous and mad because I didn't recommend them for the job. And I'm like, how could I have done that? It makes no sense, because you live in America and they live in Belgium and that's not what they were looking for, So just musicians have a lot of jealousy and envy over stuff that is just that opportunity wasn't for you just because it was random. Like it was like that guy lives over there and that person lives over there. Like you never know what's going on. So sometimes people are trying to make it, but they actually have the total wrong idea of what's going on. Sometimes it's just like this weird, you never know. You'd like to just meet a person and then the thing happens.
But again, like many musicians that I know too, they were like amazing musicians. But let me give you an example here. I'm not going to mention names. But this amazing, one of the most incredible guitar players that I've ever met, that I've ever seen perform in front of me. Like, I say that because right now in this time in my life, that I have seen every guitar player play out there, right? So this guy is phenomenal. But then he had a really big, really, really, really big opportunity. Okay, he's to jump in a thing that would make his career for the rest of his life. In probably 2 world tours he would have done with that band, he would retire. Okay, to that level. But brother man didn't even have a passport. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like like I said, I think it really does. I really go hard on the sense that luck, it really is when preparation meets the opportunity,
and saying yes and not being too good for the opportunity, and
yes, but then it shows that they're not prepared, right?
Right.
So
not
the
prepared,
preparation, that's everything it's involved.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready to pay the price, to sacrifice, to have the work ethic, to really give everything you have to your art, you should not be in that art.
That industry,
industry, because this is what it takes. Being an artist, it really is a lot more giving than it is taking, And if you're there and you're giving your heart, you're pouring your soul into your art and not doing that for this or for this, then you still have that relationship with your art. Because if the only thing that you're focusing is how you're going to profit or how you're going to be famous, I'm sorry, but that's not art.
Yeah. I have another story. Speaking of that, like not being prepared, is this Swedish guy, guitar player.
Yeah.
He's right now he's playing in one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah.
And he has played with other bands as well. But this guy, when he got his first gig, I think he was 16 years old in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
In
Oh, my
Stockholm.
God.
And they wanted to pay him.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, give me cash. And back then it worked. Like they could pay him in cash. But then when he was 28 years old, he was supposed to go on a world tour.
Yeah.
And we need you. He had a passport, but so he went on tour, but they wanted to pay him, wired to his bank account.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have a bank account. I need cash.
What?
He was 28 years old, and
You're like, who doesn't have a bank account?
See what I mean?
right. But
Preparation right there.
But he only focused on his art. That was his playing guitar, and
it's normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I think he's 45 or something.
Wow.
And
young.
he's playing in one of the biggest bands in the world. But now
Does he have a bank account now?
He does have a bank
You probably learn real fast. But that's what we're talking about. It's like get your general shit together.
Yeah, right.
Because you want to be able to say yes. If you can say yes when that door opens, that does add to a lot of it,
Yeah.
So
True.
You have to have a bag packed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Including your
when
passport.
you get the call, my friend.
Because
Are you ready?
remember that expression back in the day, the fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
There's still people that live to that, which, I believe that in a modern world, that really doesn't really, you can still fake it on the social media and whatnot, but I have found that there are two different parallel universes here. Okay. I know, being in the metal scene here for a bit, I have seen like people that go to the shows that they do not mess with social media to the level that influences where they're going to go to see the next show. So that being said, there is an industry here that it's this obscure industry, especially on the alternative art that we consume, metal and goth and everything. There is a scene here that people just don't get to be. It's not the top guy on YouTube. It's not the top guy on Spotify, but they still tour successfully. Not to mention cover bands, right? There's some people that make really good living off of cover bands, and obviously they're not releasing albums over there, right? So this is another thing too. Like there are several industries here, like we were talking about. You can split a bunch of like different roles in every genre or in every art, in every field today that didn't exist many years ago. And these people are also making a living.
Yeah, great conversations. We would love to do this again.
Yes.
I think it's time for today to wrap up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your insights and all your great
Thanks, guys.
Comments, ideas, and giving us more information that we didn't know because of your experience. 30 plus years in the music industry, in the metal industry specifically. And it's just an honor to have you guys here. And let's do this again very soon.
We would love to. And I really appreciate what you guys do too, because what I've been telling people what's so great about the metal scene is because when I've worked with artists outside of metal, they're super envious of what we have in the metal scene. And it's people like you guys that provide press platforms, like if someone has a publicist, they need someone to go to like you guys. And we have that in the rock and metal scenes where we have like the rock news site, the metal reaction channel. You guys are sort of like combination podcast reaction, like, and people are discovering music through you as well. And back in the day, it was all the metal websites that people had that reviewed all the stuff and the little forums they set up. So like, to me, it's just as important. The whole metal scene is held up by things like the Rockin Roundtable, and a lot of us, we our publicists and people wouldn't have anybody. We wouldn't be here having an interview. You know what I mean? So it's just as important. So
well, thank you.
It's been so pleasurable to have you both because you both have so much knowledge.
Thank you so much.
Of all the years that you've had in just in life in general and in this industry, that it was so enlightening. So thank you. Thank you.
So you guys as well, you're both legends over here. You've been around the world. It's seen every single metal band in the face of the planet live. So I mean, it's it's always obviously an honor to hang out with y'all. You're super sweet. You're like our family here. Already in Las
Yes,
Vegas.
our Vegas
Always been.
Vegas metal family.
Yes, yeah, I love it.
This is awesome, guys. We got to do more of this. In and out of here too. We gotta hang more and
thank you guys so much. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, one last thing I want to end with, actually, as we are new content creators, new-ish, right? But today we were invited to NAMM as content creators.
Yes, congratulations.
Awesome. Congrats.
Yes.
So for first time.
That's going to be so cool, you guys. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So we'll probably be at a lot of the same stuff because sometimes they have NAMM creator events. And I remember me and Trey and a couple of people went to a couple of really awkward ones. Sometimes they're hit, sometimes they're missed. And we're like, what is going on here?
I've seen those myself.
Yes, so we'll be sharing in that. So that's cool. That's great.
Cool. All right.
It's another, milestone. So
that's great. Keep going. You guys are doing great. Yeah.
Yes, y'all.
Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
All
Thanks.
right. Enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. This is so much fun.